I mean, we could not act with a request to go to ask for clarity there if you want to do it that way.
The option for possible motion is not, it is reflective of the situation, and as long as that is included, why, then I think that would be interpreted in a negative way.
I can't log on right now to do that.
So the alternative motion says pursuant to RSA 5541, I move to deny the petition and notify the petitioner, Senator Lang and Jill Carr, in response stating the reason for denial.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It's not harsh.
Yep. I'm fine with that if you would. Yeah.
All right, so moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get a letter to them.
Yep. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't believe anybody signed up for public comment, but let me
Mike, when I came in.
just confirm that.
You don't have to wait. Started living that.
Nope.
Yeah, okay. Manchester.
1-year-old.
Morning.
Welcome.
Yep, let's give it a run. I'll let the Zoom people know. Let's give it a minute.
Good morning. We could start introductions while we wait for the technology to catch up. So my name is Wendy Nasser-Karen. I serve Manchester as the Executive Director of Multilingual Learner Education.
I'm Nicole Doherty. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning.
And I'm Jen Camille, the superintendent.
And we were excited today to have the opportunity to be part of the SAU Spotlight so we could share some information about our expanding dual language immersion programs in Manchester. We have a lovely slide deck we're waiting, including some great video clips from these classrooms that we're hoping to show you today.
Yeah, I just did a share and call and it's not going. So let's see.
I see a green light.
Just see if it allows me.
This worked during the test run.
It always does.
It always does. Let's see if I can find it. It's not. Maybe if I can find them. It's not letting me do it here. Of course it worked, but I did not do this. I don't know what to tell you, Wendy. I'm sorry.
It's not all about the AI skeptic. He's never back.
It was already in the meeting.
Coming up there.
Corner. I was in the corner. Try, yeah, I just
Didn't get
did.
the
Let me unpin that so that that's what I just did. So let's see if we can get this to work.
Let's change the viewers.
Yep.
So we can just shake it like the. What's happening?
It looks like it's trying to share. Let me just go down here.
Yeah, if it's easier, I can join the Zoom.
Nope. Let me just get this on.
Yeah, we.
See if it lets you.
I always have a young superintendent that's telling me. Choose them. Because they don't. Not superintendent.
Well,
I don't know, sorry.
So was this any different than the slideshow that was sent to us in the back?
It wasn't, there may have been one updated video that we were hoping to show you.
You have audio, right?
I have audio. Yeah. Do you want me to join the Zoom and then? I can
Yeah,
share my
I let's
screen?
probably, it should make her the presenter for the Zoom.
Yeah, let me just do that. Hold on.
Have to invite me.
Send you an invite. Hold on.
I promise it's worth the wait. We're excited to show you some photographs from the classroom and some videos, so.
I can't wait to hear their little voices.
Yeah,
Oh, it's great.
It really is precious.
Okay, I just sent it to you. So when, as soon as I see you, I'll make you panelists and then we can,
Okay,
and then you can just share it that way.
that's great. There it is.
I'll find you. The only thing I probably will need to mute your laptops, but
Okay.
as soon as I see, I'll move you over. I don't know why that happens. Anytime we test it beforehand, it works, and then when we're in it, it just doesn't.
Almost there.
I know, I'm just keep looking. Almost there.
Because of the way that dependency.
There you are.
So,
Perfect.
Ray was saying this, someone had been here, so they know, but.
It's gonna come through and request you. Join as a panelist.
Keep everyone busy.
I think we are in
Go.
business.
Yeah, another factor.
Okay, fantastic.
Like-
Thank you for your patience. Okay, so as many of you may know, the Manchester School District is the largest and most culturally and linguistically diverse school district in the state. We serve around 12,000 students. Of that 12,000, about 30% of students indicate to us that a language other than English is the primary language spoken at home. So I wanted to just share a little information with you about Manchester's multilingual profile. 88% of our students speak those top 10 languages highlighted here on the screen. And 42% of our English learners are actually born here in the US. Our students possess a variety of multilingual assets. Our dual language program really helps us acknowledge and leverage those assets by providing space for our students who come from Spanish and French speaking homes to really gift their language to our students who come from English-speaking homes and vice versa. With this model, all students benefit through the exchange of language and culture and the eventual development of bilingualism and biliteracy. The dual language programs are expanding rapidly across the US. There are dual language schools or programs registered across 43 states in the US in partnership with our families in the community, and our team is excited to be the first district in New Hampshire to open a two-way Spanish-English dual language immersion program, or DLI as we call it. And then this year, a second DLI program offering French and English. Students who participate in this program are making state history. Manchester's DLI programs were made possible in part by a generous innovation grant issued through the Department of Education, which really helps us to kickstart this process. So during this process, we were able to work with a national consultant to conduct a feasibility study, and which really helped us engage our community. The excitement from the community and support from our local school board motivated us to move forward with designing a proper implementation plan. A year later, after additional consultation, a lot of training, and multiple visits to establish DLI schools, the district started our first DLI program with Spanish and English at Bakersville Elementary School, which is on Elm Street in Manchester. We want to thank the department and this board for your continued support of our DLI programming. We have also been supported through generous donations from the Consulate General of France, the Teen Foundation, and our local Franco-American Center in Manchester. The DLI aligns with the district's strategic plan and our portrait of a graduate by creating opportunities for our students to develop strong communication skills, cross-cultural competency, and the ability to speak, read, write in multiple languages, the norm in a lot of other countries across the world, and an advantage in this global economy. As our current DLI students advance along to high school, they will be ready to earn the state seal of biliteracy distinction, which this board has acknowledged as an important college and career readiness indicator. The district's vision acts as a foundation for a dual language program. From that, we have built 3 interconnected pillars to help us get there. Bilingualism and biliteracy. So again, the ability to speak, read, write, listen across English and our target language. High academic standards. So students in these programs are working on those grade level standards. And then the sociocultural competence, again, the ability to understand, communicate, and effectively interact with people across varying backgrounds, which is, of course, very important. So with this goal in mind, we have developed 2 distinct programs in Manchester. The term dual language program or dual language is actually an umbrella term used to describe a variety of bilingual programs. We find this umbrella image very helpful. It's used across the country to help people visualize this. The 2 programs listed on the right side of the umbrella are one-way programs designed to help English-speaking students develop a world language. World language immersion programs are the most prevalent DLI models in public schools. They are designed for students who come from English-speaking homes who would like to develop proficiency in another world language. Heritage language programs are also designed for English-speaking students who have a connection to another language through their family's heritage. For example, there may be a grandparent who speaks French, and the students might not necessarily have enough French proficiency to really share it with an English-speaking peer, but it's an important part of their family's heritage. And so that program becomes really valuable to the community. On the left side of the umbrella, the intended beneficiaries are both our multilingual students who come from families where language other than English is spoken, and students from English-speaking families. Ideally, in a 2-way program, there is a 50-50 mix of students, meaning 50% come from English-speaking homes, 50% come from the target language, in our case, Spanish. And in this model, there's a 2-way exchange of language and culture. The last program model is a developmental bilingual or one-way program. This model would include students from the same language group who are learning English together, kind of similar to our standard programs for multilingual learners. So in Manchester at Bakersville, we are using the 2-way immersion program, and our French program at Weston, we're following the heritage language model. Both programs follow the same language allocation plan. So I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit, and then we'll show you some great pictures from the classrooms. But basically 90% of the day in kindergarten is spent in our target language. So all core academic instruction happens in French or Spanish. 10% of the day is in English, where we're teaching them those early English foundational literacy skills. They're receiving English during their unified arts classes, so gym, physical education. And then the rest of the day is in our target language. And that switches by 10% ratio every year until we reach a 50-50 ratio in 4th grade. And so next year, in the 26-27 school year, we'll welcome our 3rd cohort of students at Bakersville. So we'll have 2 kindergarten classrooms, 2 1st grade, and our original cohort is moving up to 2nd grade. And at Weston, we will have our 2nd cohort there. We have 1 classroom full of kindergartners this year, and next year we'll have the 1st grade class as well.
Could you share, are there students who would like to be in the program, but you only have so much room? And if that's the case, is it a lottery? How do you determine who gets to participate?
Yes, as part of our implementation plan, we developed a lottery system, which we've had to use in the Spanish and English program. We have not had a wait list yet in our French program. It started off very small. We had just about 10 students in the program this year, but we have 15 already signed up for next year's cohort. So sometimes it takes a little time to make sure the community is aware of these options, but we have had to use a lottery system at the Bakersville program.
Do you think you'll get to a point where the whole school is immersion?
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's an awesome question. So it's something we keep thinking about and looking at, but we're also looking at capacity within our physical space and actually trying to think bigger and broader of how we could open space in that location so that we could keep building. So more to come on that. I think we're in some of the baby steps of this programming, but it's certainly in the longer term thinking.
Quick question, how do you like phys ed, are the phys ed teachers bilingual or you have two separate phys ed teachers?
No, the teachers are all speaking English, so that is part of the monolingual part of the students' day. So they have their peers to help them in modeling, the students that do not speak the language of English, but it helps.
So those unified arts class fall into that 10% part of their day in English.
Okay.
Because it is really, I mean, that's one of the challenges is to recruit bilingual staff who are certified in elementary and also proficient across both languages. So that's something, you know, that's been a challenge, but so far we've been really lucky with staff. And then I think this brings us into a window into the DLI classrooms. I'm partial to the picture on the left. I think it might be my favorite picture of my 20+ career in education. It's just that first day we opened the dual language immersion program at Bakersville and how excited the parents were to drop the students off. They lingered outside. It was such a beautiful morning. And we do have just, I hope the technology will continue to cooperate. We have about 3 minutes worth of videos that we'd like to show you from the classroom. And the first one kind of gives you an idea of the instructional strategies we use in the classroom to really help advance students transfer language skills from one language to the other. So this is one example of making sure the first graders this year understood that there are cognates, words that are the same in both languages or similar, and they can really help transfer their knowledge about a word into another language if they understand cognates.
I think what we need to do is mute your speakers, but not mute you. Angela, can you hear that?
What, I'm sorry?
Her
Yeah.
speakers need to be muted on her computer, but her as a presenter should not be muted on the Zoom.
She's not.
So just your
Oh, you know what?
speakers.
Hold on. Let's,
Your
you're
speakers
muted
is
as a, hold on. But I think it's still gonna.
Give it a try.
It should be coming through. You're not
Mine is
muted.
the universal language. Her mic's not muted, it's the internal video.
Yep, and this should be picking it up as a sharing, so let's just see. It should be working, so I don't know. Everyone's able to hear everything on the.
No pressure, Angela.
Yeah, I know, it's like.
You better get right.
Really excited about hearing
I
the voices.
know. I don't know why it's not.
Oh,
What's interesting is everybody on has been able to listen, well.
should we try the other way?
Online, you probably hear it, I bet.
Is this Zoom, Angela? So
It is, yep.
if we wanna only hear it in the room, I'm okay with that. If that just it
I
gives
can,
us.
yeah, I can mute this and then that way we can hear it here. How's that sound?
It's really, I mean,
I'll mute it here so that way you can, I don't think it'll reverb now.
Okay, great.
Significa un cognado en español, en inglés. ¿Quién me puede recordar? Sí.
A connection with Spanish and English with languages.
Sí, pero ¿qué es la palabra? Cognado.
Connection.
Cognate.
Cognate.
Ah, muy bien, cognado, cognate. Es una otra vez.
It's a connection of two different languages.
Very good, the words are very similar, right? So, vocabulario en español es, ¿qué es la palabra en inglés?
Vocabulary.
Muy bien, vocabulario. Let's do our hands. Remember, we do our Spanish English hands. Show me your hands. ¿Estás la mano? Okay. Vocabulario. Vocabulary. vocabulario, vocabulary. Es un vocablo. Es un vocablo.
Is it okay? Yeah, okay. One more. Okay, and in this clip, this is a clip from our kindergarten French program where she's using puppets to help them understand the feminine and masculine use of language in the classroom.
Lucas, il a 2 ans. Oui. Il a quel âge? Il a 2 ans. 2 ans, oui. Pourquoi on dit il? Pourquoi c'est il, mes amis? C'est un garçon. C'est un garçon. Ok, mes amis. Il a 2 ans. Et ça, c'est il ou elle? Elle.
Oh. We were cut a little bit short. And then finally, this is just, we can just listen to a little clip of this, but this is a student just about a few weeks ago from our French classroom. So end of year kindergarten, reading in French.
Bonjour.
Bonjour,
Comment tu t'appelles?
je m'appelle Luc.
Et là, Luc, tu vas nous lire une histoire ce matin. Et quel est le titre de ce livre? Jacques ne rit pas. Alors, est-ce que tu peux commencer à lire, s'il te plaît?
Saint-Louis, Jacques, Ponce et Jacasse. Donc,
S'occupe
le
du
bébé de la dame. Jacasse est ravi. Jacob, lui, n'est pas ravi.
Alors, ravi, ça veut dire quoi? Montre-moi ravi avec ton visage. Exactement. Alors, tu peux continuer.
And maybe you can look at those again on your own later and really enjoy them, but we were excited to just share a little glimpse, a window into the DLI classrooms. Would you like me? A feature story by NHPR on our website. So I encourage you to also visit our website.
Any questions?
Just, well, you know me, I have to comment on this. My wife actually volunteered my daughter's kindergarten class years ago, and they just absorbed it. My wife was only spending like half hour, 45 minutes in there. My wife's a high school French teacher. She always talks about this. We have a place in New Brunswick, and Brunswick is a bilingual province. 5th grade is total immersion up there for all classes. Although 90% of the province is English speaking. But I'm certainly going to share this with her. We'll be keeping an eye out for any open positions.
Great, great, wonderful.
But this is great.
Thank you.
It's so exciting to get them at this age, like even reading in the kindergarten, while they were reading in another 2 languages. That is like such a incredible opportunity you're giving these children and for the rest of their lives. So it's an amazing program. I'd love to see more of it across the state.
Yeah, I concur. A bit of history of me, I think it was the year 2000, I started a French Spanish before and after school language program at my children's elementary school in Western Massachusetts. And 90% of the families signed up to participate. And so there was that level of interest then. As my colleague said, I hope that this catches on and there is more foreign language at our elementary level than we have today. So
I agree.
Have you reached out to any other schools reached out to you as far as them considering it, like any other area school districts?
Not yet, but we do have some parents that have reached out from other districts to come and join our district for a dual language.
Yeah.
So, which is fabulous.
Again.
I was just thinking about your description of the heritage program and being partial to French, since my last name is LeBeau. I can see how these kids can probably, if there's a lot of memes and pepes out there, and this creates kind of a bonding with the younger generation and the older generation. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we've had a lot of volunteers into the program who represent francophones from across the world, including a lot of memes and pepes. So it's been nice. There's a lot of excitement there.
That's good.
I think it gives a level of respect into the community, into the family structure, but also into what we do in the district. And so I think there's this real two-way level of communication and respect happening. I think they're understanding we're hearing and seeing them, and they're hearing and seeing how we do the business of public ed. So I think it's a win-win.
It really is.
I'm curious for your response. So we just got through, not that long ago, redoing our minimum standards for public schools. And this came up as a topic to revise our minimum standards to, right now we require that you offer world language in high school. It's only a May for elementary school. And we debated this a lot. And I think the biggest reason we didn't shift the shall down was just for capacity issues. So I'd be interested to see how this goes for you guys over the next couple of years, because in our discussions with literacy folks, foreign literacy folks, it's pretty clear that the research is all on you're really getting the best bang when you do it in elementary school. And if we switch that to requiring at least offering in elementary school, that would really go a long way to preparing our students better. Just general thoughts on that. I mean, obviously there are resource issues. That's why we didn't do it in the first place. But just your general thoughts on.
So I do, and I think you're on the right path. You go into something new and you've got to figure out all the collateral pieces that you didn't think of in that first stage, right? And so as we keep rolling, we're seeing things like, all right, certification, making sure we have the right bodies in, making sure we've got them connected to professional development and colleague feedback. So as we're growing it, we can keep sharing with all of you, certainly, but I think it's all been good growth, right? Nothing has stopped us and said, wait, we got to stop. And the other thing we're seeing is how do we build for that expansion? So when you have buildings that are physically, you only have so much space, right? And how do you keep moving forward? And how do we respect what's currently been in the building while bringing in new programming? So I think we're more than happy to share and share some of the hiccups or speed bumps that we've hit along the way. So those are things for people to troubleshoot through. One of the bigger ones has been thinking about how do we get those staff members in certified and in those rooms, because it's a very nuanced, they need a lot of ability to bring into those rooms. So it's something for us to keep thinking about. If you expanded it statewide,
Well, there's two different things, right? So there's one is the dual language immersion program, which is different. So what we were actually talking about was just basic provide foreign language world language instruction at elementary school as a requirement. No, you wouldn't have to take it, but it would have to be offered. And even that, we just ultimately decided it was a resource issue for a lot of people, so we didn't do it. But the feedback in the abstract that we got was you should do that. That's the way to go, rather than wait to high school.
Makes sense, right? Research would tell us the littles are they're sponges, right? Everything we're pushing in is being absorbed, and then you just grow it as the older we get. You know, I wish I had a program like this when I was little. I would have jumped on in a heartbeat, or for my kids. It's harder for us to learn language. I try, but it just doesn't, you know, I did it in middle school and high school, it doesn't stick. And so the gift or the opportunity we're able to provide right now for this crew is just remarkable. So we're more than happy to keep sharing data and numbers and lessons learned and all that as we go.
Love that.
Sure.
Yeah. We do have an after-school French club program that we started 3 years ago in conjunction with the Manchester Franco-America Center. And we started off with one classroom, had about 15 students, and then last year we had 2 classrooms with 15 to 20 in each. And this year we had about 60 kids at 3 different schools. So
Grade span?
it is 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So at the elementary level, we're starting that after school to get them interested in that. So it just keeps growing every year.
I love seeing that from Hampshire. I mean, talked to so many people over the years who live in Manchester, remember grandparents speaking French or store clerks speaking French, and people lament that that's vanishing. And I think you guys are finding a way to prevent that from vanishing, which is really great.
The one piece I heard, and I pretty mentioned, kids are sponge. So of course, I'm gonna ask a question, that there be some kind of science research on this. And is that something that is fairly readily available if you want to push forward with something?
Oh. There's 30 years of research about the benefits of bilingual programs, including students accelerating their bilingualism and biliteracy the younger you start, but also like the benefits of brain health, right? There's more neurological development.
Right.
It supports
The neuron's
complex.
gonna be buzzing back and forth.
Exactly, and supports cognition with complex tasks, allowing students to multitask better. So there are tons of research and many benefits, and we, as part of our orientation for parents, we include a lot of that information.
And some of that information is on our website, on our dual language page with that research and our presentations.
All right, anything else? Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You might as well stay because you're now also next on the agenda. Well, so, did you want to tee this up? I mean, just to talk about what this exactly is. You got the.
Yeah, sure. Before we opened our first dual language immersion program, we did submit a request to this board back in June 2024. And that was pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 18919, which requires districts to seek approval if they wish to instruct in a language other than English. So we did receive approval on June 25th from the State Board of Education for a Spanish program. Our original request was just for dual language immersion programs, agnostic of languages. So we thought, since we're coming here today, we just wanted to clarify that our French program was also approved under that general order.
As I read the order, it was not. But we should amend that clearly. So we went back and looked up the original order, and it did specify for your Spanish language program. So I'm happy to take a motion here to issue a new order that clarifies French as well. Do you have any plans for other languages that we could include, and or are you guys just going to focus on this, or maybe in the future?
I have promised them I will stop. It takes a bit, and so I think we're focusing on our 2 languages right now. Wendy's doing great work with the seal of biliteracy in other ways, so there's languages within the district, but I think for right now, for our DLI programming, we're gonna stick with these 2 and get them right.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing a blanket of languages as you see fit kind of thing.
If you want to give me that, that would be awesome, because then I can keep bugging them in time.
No, I mean, I don't know why you would have to come back to us to ask for German or ask for whatever else. If you've got a successful program, I'd rather just give you the blanket permission to pick a language that works for the district, right? So
I move that the State Board of Education approve the Manchester School District's DLI World Language Program.
so I want to make sure we're,
World language.
yes.
World languages.
Well, right. I'm going to go back and look at the final order we did 2 years ago, just to. How about we were, I'm going to throw out some language for you. The State Board of Education Manchester School District's request to offer core instruction in languages other than English.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Well, that's in that further. As part of a dual language instruction
Program. Yes.
All right.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Aye. Oh, yeah. We got to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just get the letter.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's see, Swahili was the second most spoken language.
Right. And the beauty of these dual language programs, if they work well, is that as they laid out in the steps, I can imagine some people who don't know how it works, saying, well, why would you allow instruction in a foreign language? These kids should all speak English. But it's bringing them into being fluent in both languages. And theoretically, at least, you're not going to lose them. If you're trying to instruct them purely in language they don't speak early on, I think you risk them falling further behind. So academically, at least as this seems to be working, they're keeping them up to speed in those early years while getting them fluent in English.
One thing was touched on was about community, and but in a larger sense, there's also the business community. You take Manchester, for instance. I mean, these students are going to grow up into the community and be bilingual.
Yes,
it's benefit to the community as a whole.
I can tell you,
goes on.
If you have a staffer in your retail or customer focused business who's bilingual, and that can be a big help.
Yeah.
So that adds value to them in their life going forward. All right. Next up. Aviation music.
Good morning. Are we okay with sound? I guess I can hear myself. Good morning, Chairman Klein, board members, Commissioner Davis. My name is Jeff Rapsis. I'm Executive Director of the Aviation Museum of New Hampshire. We're a nonprofit organization with a strong focus on educational activities. And this is Nathaniel McDonald. I'm the Education Director for the museum. And we are half the staff. There's 4 of us, but we have about 150 volunteers that we've marshaled into this force for education goodness, we hope. I do want to comment. I'm so glad I was here to listen to what we just heard about the younger kids learning foreign languages, because there's a right way to do things and there's other ways to do things. When I was growing up in Nashua, New Hampshire, my family went to St. Stanislaus Church, which is a Polish church, because my grandmother on my father's side is Polish. And they decided they wanted the young kids to learn Polish because they wanted to keep the cultural tradition going. And so we could talk to grandparents and all that. The problem was that the Polish priest had left and an Irish priest came in. And he was told, you're going to teach these kids Polish. And so I was in that for a year, and I remember 2 words. One was the word for road, which is droga, and the other is the word for tractor, which is traktor. That's probably not the best way to do this, but what a great program that really was. And Swahili is the second most spoken second language in Manchester. That's amazing. So similar to that, I was at Spring Street Junior High School in shop class, and we built a flower scoop. And we thought that was hot stuff. We bent the metal, we glued a dowel on, and we had something we could take flour out of a barrel. Very important task. And now we're running a program where we're having high school students build airplanes. And I know the board is somewhat familiar with this. We've had opportunities to have the schools come in, and thank you for that. I want to thank Chairman Klein for letting us come in and take just a few minutes to let you know of something that has happened since you may have last heard from us. And that is our 3 schools in the program will, we hope soon be 4 schools. We've been authorized by our board to go forward and to look for another district or another school system that would like to go on this adventure of having their students build an aircraft and under this program. And so we've put together an RFP that we've been circulating, and I think the one thing we'd like to ask board members is if you could help us just get the word out to people you work with in local districts that you interact with. We have from now until October 1st to entertain proposals from districts to convince us that they're the school district we should pick next. We've had inquiries all along, but as a small nonprofit, we have to be very careful we don't say yes to too many things and overextend ourselves. But we're at a point now where we can offer this to a 4th district. And it's not necessarily a public school district. It could be a private school, could be a charter school. We're kind of agnostic about that. And at this point, we're also open to schools in the North Country. Prior to this because we're based in Manchester, we had limited the geography to south of the White Mountains. But one of the funding parts of this equation is that the Northern Border Regional Commission does offer grant money that we would be able to access, but it's only for districts in the North Country and also interestingly down the Connecticut River Valley, Sullivan County and Cheshire County. Yes.
Does proximity to an airfield have a bearing?
Yes, that is, we have, in the RFP, there's 15 prerequisites that we ask school districts to consider, and that is one of the prerequisites to have, because it is an airplane, it has to fly and take off at some point, and so it can't be from the school parking lot.
Refresh our memory, what schools participate today?
Yes, I did have one sheet that I'll hand out that summarizes where we are, and that includes info about each of the 3 schools. Our first school from 2019 was in Manchester, where we're located. It's the Manchester School of Technology, and it's a CTE center. Enrolls students from Manchester, but also several of the communities around that area. And they are now working on their 3rd airplane. They've completed 1 and they completed 2, almost. Close, very close. We have a few things to do before the designated airworthiness inspector can be invited to certify that plane as flight worthy. It's at the airport now, and they've made some progress on plane number 3. Is that
Yes.
right? Yep. Nathan is in the workshop with the students in all 3 of the programs, so I defer to his firsthand knowledge of that. The second school, Lebanon, we brought on in 2024, and Lebanon High School is a traditional 4-year academic school, enrolls about 600 students. They are about 80% complete with their first plane, and they asked for a second plane early because their model calls for students to kind of work together on both of them, and so they have another plane that's about 20% complete. As of the end of the school year. In our 3rd district, Farmington High School, a very small high school, traditional academic school, but only one town, Farmington, 200 students totaled in 4 grades. And they've just started this year, and they're, what, about 40, 50%?
Yeah, they're about 40.
Yeah, and so that's so the census right now. Altogether, this school year, every day there was school in New Hampshire, about 50 high school kids would spend 2 periods working on an airplane in these programs.
Jeff, are these kits?
Yes, these are what's called home-built category aircraft, where Vans Aircraft, which is a company in Oregon, makes these kits available to people to build them in their home or their hangar. And it's a well-established part of the aviation and aerospace industry. It just happens that they're great projects for students to work on, as we've discovered. And so these are kits that are made available in quantity by Vans Aircraft, and we procure them one at a time.
Are you actually assembling the engine?
No, the engine comes all complete from Rotax. It's an Austrian company, and it's interesting. They have to use metric tools to work with that as opposed to English tools.
I'm just gonna. Yeah, so we use the Rotax engine. The engine comes pre-assembled from the company for warranty reasons. The warranty starts ticking the moment the engine is shipped, so we just hold off on that. But then the students do mount it. They mount the exhaust system, hook up all like oil, fuel lines, everything else that goes around that engine. They do, but the core of the engine itself is assembled by the company.
Got it.
Thank you.
So other questions are welcome, but we have, I think a key part of the program is that it's not just students in a workshop building planes. Of course, the school makes a faculty or 1 or 2 members available to guide the program. But we also, our volunteers, I mentioned we have over 100 of them. A lot of them have backgrounds in this, and they go into the workshop and act as a team of mentors. So these are adult volunteers who donate their time, and I think are a key part of this program, because it's not just building a plane. This is a summary of what we're at. It's building a life, and so they create relationships with these adult mentors, and it starts them on the road to thinking about what career path they might take. Doesn't have to be aviation. As Nathan will tell you, we have in Lebanon, one of the students is.
Yeah, so we have one student in Lebanon who's she wants to get into nursing. We have another student that is going for bioengineering at Dartmouth. When he graduates, we have a student in Farmington. She wants to do mortuary science. We open the door to anybody because while the project is building a plane, it also teaches them a lot of
skills that they can apply to other areas of their life. It is a 2-year long project, and it's a group project. And unlike some of the other group projects they might do in school where they work on it for a week or a month with a limited number of students, it is all of the students together in the class working on the same project, different parts of the project, but then it all comes together. So they learn a lot of group work, a lot of soft skills. They have to go out and like logically think through problems. They have to critically think about the directions, the instructions, interpret them. And then another side effect of this project is that the students go out and they represent their projects to the community. And so we've had the Lebanon and Farmington schools come in here to present what they have done with the project. And these are high school students that have now presented to the Department of Education, which they, if you ask the students, they never would have expected to do that, prior to entering this program. They also help us out with air shows and STEM fairs. So they will come out and talk about their project to visitors and attendees with those events. That is not required with the project. When the project was proposed, it was not something that we really intended to do, but we've since added it on as additional opportunities for them to practice being members of the community and to take pride in what they're doing.
So the message here is that we seem to have found success in a partnership model where a nonprofit, us, which has we're 501c3 status, so we're able to raise funds through grant sources and other funds that may not be available to a public school district, and we can work with the local business community to raise those funds. We've worked with the Community Development Finance Authority here in Concord, as well as other agencies to put together the financing for this program for each school. It costs about $300,000 to start the program, to buy the kits, to fit up the workshop, to cover part of our costs, including Nathan's presence. But once that's completed, the aircraft is then sold because it is a completed real aircraft and there's a demand for the RV-12. And then the next set of kits is paid for by that. So it's a self-sustaining program that doesn't cost your local school district anything other than the salaries they might have already been paying their faculty members and the space that we use. And we do have a requirement where there's a $15,000 curriculum fee that comes along with this. It's a real academic program that earns credits for the students toward graduation. And that's something we ask school districts to cover. A lot of times that's it's eligible for Perkins grant money and other ways of funding. And so in its ideal form, it doesn't cost the local school district anything. It doesn't add anything to the tax rate, but it gives them a really innovative program that's a partnership between the community financially, but in terms of personnel as well. It gives people that are not certified educators, but have amazing life experience, access to inside the school to I think, greatly enrich the experience that a high school student has, whether it's a public school, private school, or charter or whatever. And so I will pass one more thing out. This is it's kind of a publicity exercise for us. We have the need for one school, but we'd like to see what the demand is over the long term, see what kind of proposals we get that will help us guide our efforts, not just immediately, but over the next 5 or 10 years. Just what is the demand for this and how far can we go with it? And so this round of proposals will help us understand that. So your help in getting the word out of this is important. Yes.
It's on our agenda later today, but what is the impact of requiring background checks on your volunteers?
It's the school's responsibility. Each district has its own volunteer acceptance and background check policy. If there's any background costs, like for the state police check and other things, the museum covers that as part of our commitment to financing the program. But it's not, at the museum, we don't have a background check policy for volunteers that work with us. But if a school district requires it, the volunteers are.
That's not an impediment.
No, it hasn't been. I think the only difficulty we had was in Manchester. When we started the program, the building principal had the authority to approve volunteers, but at some point around the pandemic, that shifted to the central office, and it became much more difficult to get answers. And we have people waiting to volunteer, and if it takes months for them to get approved, they'll find other ways to volunteer. So we had to kind of, work through that and make sure that the district understood volunteers are not going to stay forever waiting for approval. And I think we've done better with that now. The other districts, Lebanon has I would have to say a very easy process. Farmington,
I mean, I had to get approved for all 3 schools myself individually and stuff. And yeah, I didn't really have any issues with it. It doesn't take up a ton of time. So
if it had been a state requirement, you'd be approved through the state and you only have to do that once.
Yeah, but that's just me. Our volunteers don't volunteer at multiple schools. They're typically, the mentors are only in one school that's close to where they live. So they're only doing it once anyway. It's just me, and I'm fine with doing it individually for each school. It's fine. I had to do it for that, for our summer camp program and everything else. So I'm always getting fingerprinted.
All right, well, thank you guys. I think, would this be something for the Friday forum?
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. That's kind of what I was hoping, is that you guys would come here and we can slip this into the newsletter that goes out every week to all the schools in the state. Maybe put a link and include your.
And potentially a state approved Learn Everywhere too. That would be a great path forward for
Well,
that.
I think we briefly talked about it. We should talk at some point in the future about maybe you guys coming and thinking about doing a Learn Everywhere application for the program.
I'm currently
this. Are you currently?
Yeah, I'm currently working on that, and with our aviation summer camp program, I'm modeling off the Wind Arrow out of Laconia's.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
great. The Wind Arrow program's great, and it would make sense. I know this particular model is in schools, but there's no reason why you couldn't do one in your camps or even the plane building, where we could structure it where students would come to you. I like going to schools. I think you had a bigger portion of the state that way, and it's nice to get these programs in a school building where you're just touching kids who might not think to do it otherwise, and they see it and go, wow. I think the MST is a bit of a different animal because of what it is, but that one and Lebanon, I think, if I remember correctly, had some students who were just like, oh, this will be cool, and then decided after they got into it, hey, maybe aviation will be a career for me. I never would have thought of it otherwise. So,
well, on your RFP, the student that's crouching down on the cover there is Sam Domino, and she was a kid who family had no connection to aviation whatsoever. She just heard about this when it was a new program and thought, oh, that'd be a fun way to spend my day in school. And she got into it so much that she got her private pilot's license, I think even before graduation, and then is now in the Air Force Reserve, and she's a specialist in, I forget what
she does, like electrical engineering for transport aircraft. So
yeah. So there are multiple stories of students that didn't have the pathway of a family being involved in aviation, which is, you folks who are in the field know, a lot of times that's what brings young people along, because there's an uncle or a cousin that is already doing it. And if a kid doesn't have that, it's a real barrier. They'll go elsewhere.
Aviation is a lot like baseball. If you don't pass it down directly in the family from one generation to the next, it kind of vanishes. Yeah, so great. I think we should definitely get this in the newsletter. We'll help you guys notify schools. Hopefully you'll get a flood of applications.
Thank you. Yeah, and if it's necessary for or it's needed for a electronic copy of this is we just brought some printouts to hand out here, but I can send them to.
If you could connect with Kim Houghton on the way out, she's right behind you. She'll help coordinate the communication side of that.
All right. Thank you very much for the chance to talk a little bit about.
Oh yeah, Jeff, you said you were looking for some maybe a school district in the North Country.
We're open to geography. Shouldn't be a barrier this time. We're already all over the state. So here we go.
I know a guy that travels all the North Country every day, just about. His car's never in the yard between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. I drive by his house. That's the executive council of Joseph Kennedy.
All right. Yes,
he's always up there. He would be a good resource for you to touch base with. And I'll let him know. You came in.
Yeah,
let him know.
Also, Jeff, I understand Chairman Klein is in is looking to buy a plane. How much do these go for when you're done with them?
Somewhat north of 100.
Yeah, 130,000, but the kit itself is 100. So, after each sale, it's 30 grand of, after all 2 years of free labor.
How fast does it go? How many knots?
It does about 130 if you, and then 750-mile range about. So it's a fully capable aircraft. The students do all the avionics, install the autopilot system, and everything else. It's a very versatile and capable aircraft. Actually, we had mentioned there, Sam, she flew it out with an instructor to the Oshkosh Air Show in Wisconsin.
Wow.
So the plane's got some legs.
Wow.
So
Board has 3 pilots who are checked out and on the insurance to fly the one aircraft we have kept sort of as a demo. And one of them was able to get it from Florida to New Hampshire in just one fuel stop with a really good tailwind, both legs.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so
It's a two-seater, right?
two-seater, yes.
We went, another board member and I, in 2019, went to the demonstration flight of the first one from MST, and it was cool. You talked to the students, and their parents. I mean, you couldn't. The pride the parents had in watching a plane built by their kids be piloted in real time in the air. It was really amazing. It was a great experience for the students too, just to watch somebody take this thing up and realize they did that. Yeah, that's so cool.
Well, for just a little bit of context, Tango Flight, our other partner with this, has programs in about 40 schools now across the country, from Alaska down to Florida. But New Hampshire is turning into this center where we have a great concentration for a small state. We have 3 programs and now a 4th. And so if we keep doing this, we're hoping we can get New Hampshire to have a reputation as that state where the kids build airplanes. So thank you for your support of this throughout it. And any questions, please feel free to contact me. The info is in all of this, and happy to talk with you about it.
Thanks a lot.
I love it.
Oh, yes, yeah. That's my background, biplanes. So yeah. I mean, first entered the program, they're like, oh, you're gonna be teaching kids riveting, and you've worked on planes for like a decade, so you must be really good at it. I was like, no, I know sewing and carpentry.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I would love to see
Yes.
a Learn Everywhere program built off of
Yeah.
this, so we'll have 2 aviation Learn Everywhere in the state.
Yeah. I'm also, if I may, I'm looking into the early college learning credit program with Nashville Community College, so they'll earn math science credits while it's in this program.
Yeah,
So
well, that's the other angle, and we've actually talked to folks from the State Department of Transportation about that community college and that pathway and getting credits. So it's sort of slowly moving forward to get aviation into accessible to more students. So, all right.
Awesome.
So we are to the hearings portion, but it's 11 o'clock. I think before we go into the hearings, maybe it makes sense to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back for the hearings.
We pass this to the Aviation Museum here if you'd like to.
Hey. All right, we'll just take a couple minute break. If you haven't been to the museum,
Where is it?
it's right under the airport in London. So if you go past the airport on the Londonderry side, if you go past the border, curve around, and the airport's in the right. And non-public. So the first hearing we have is Parent versus Seabrook School Board. You guys have the option, if you'd like, to go to non-public session. Would you rather do this in public session?
Yeah.
Up to you.
Yeah, I'll do public.
Okay. Welcome.
This school district.
Yeah. They should.
Is the school district here too?
Seabrook?
Luke Webster is Seabrook.
Yes,
Seabrook.
yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Just gonna come grab it in public session.
Public. Yeah, so. All right. Welcome. So the way these work is the parent will get the first crack. If you'd like to give an oral presentation, it's 10 minutes. We're not allowed to accept new testimony. So anything that you want to say to walk through, highlight things for us, tell us the story, you're welcome to do that. And identify yourself for the record, both.
Maria Brown.
All right,
Anne Marie Banfield, parent advocate.
okay. All right,
Basically here, I appealed the school board's decision for the extended amount of bullying my daughter went through while in Seabrook Middle School. Sorry, I don't really know where to start. I know you had said this was more or less to ask questions about the.
if you look, so we have the entire packet, we have the entire record, and everybody who's read it. So usually this is a chance for you to highlight anything, or if you'd rather just ask questions, we're happy to ask questions if you don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the chance to bring the police reports to the hearing because I wasn't offered extra time for the police reports to come in. The packet that they gave me with the list to check off, what met the bullying criteria for them, it checked off multiple boxes and they denied that. They insisted my daughter to tell somebody right away when these bullying incidents happened. When she did, nothing would change. There was witnesses at lunch. None of the witnesses were interviewed. They claimed my older daughter to be equally hostile, which because she used one swear when she tried to defend herself, and the RO told her that she should have just said stop repeatedly through the text messages. And then when the bullying continued to my younger daughter, when she was shoved in the hallway, they said it never happened because the Wi-Fi was wonky that day and that the student who did this was dismissed. And just because she was dismissed prior to when my younger daughter got to the staff to explain what happened, it never happened. But she was not charged, but it was a retaliation. These are just a few highlighted things.
So I just want to clarify that too, because in the record, the school district said this could not happen. So they did review the footage and didn't see it on the security cameras in that one particular area.
Correct.
They looked. And they also said, well, the student was dismissed 15 minutes-ish prior. Are you saying that the dismissal doesn't prove that the student wasn't there in the hallway?
Correct.
Okay.
Because my younger daughter, she doesn't have time concept. She has a lot of, I don't want to say issues, but.
How old was this particular at that time? Just so for clarity. Roughly.
Maybe 11, 12. She turns, her birthday's in the summer. So I'm trying to remember like exactly at that time. She's 12 now, so she might've been 11. But she has ADHD and everything. So like her time concept is not the best. And she told them she didn't remember exactly where it happened in the hallway, but she knows that it happened in the hallway. And she said it happened in the morning. And I know they said she got dismissed, I believe.
11:45.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So I was trying to explain, like, just because you didn't catch it on the camera, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Like, if it didn't happen, it didn't happen, but you don't have to call my daughter a liar. Like, that's not fair. Like, I mean, if my daughter is saying she got shoved, it's for a reason. Like, my older daughter, okay, it's like, I mean, she can be mouthy. I will say that. Like, but my younger daughter, like, she's never been in trouble in school, and like, she had issues with this girl on the bus, like, and she's tiny. Like, she just. So when she comes to me, I'm like, okay, something's wrong. I simply asked for their help. I tried to bring them the documents that my older daughter had to be put in a program, a mental health program, an intensive outpatient hospital program. They wouldn't let me use that proof because she had been there before and she missed so many days of school before. And I tried to explain that she has mental health issues because of prior issues. But they wouldn't let me use that
I would object. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt her presentation, but I think this is a mischaracterization of what's in the record. I know the board, can look at the record, but I want to make sure that I understand,
So in this way, we just hear narratives, so that the record is, like, so we're not. We have to go on factually what's in the record, right? So the parent, often in these cases, being pro se, elaborates a little bit, but just so you know, like, we cannot consider as a factor additional information you might bring up about this stuff. So if you were to bring us the police reports now, we couldn't look at them, right?
No, I
Same-
understand
Same thing with the mental health stuff, like that's outside the scope of what's in the record.
Yeah, I
So-
tried to submit it
Sure.
when we had the hearing, with Officer Foley.
Yeah.
And he would not accept any of it.
Yeah, and that's just the way our system works. If it's not in our record, that's, if you look at it this way, the hearing officer is the trial court. So
Yeah.
anything that happens there, we can consider. Anything that was outside of that,
Yeah.
we can't really take into our
I
consideration.
understand.
So-
Can I,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
heard that there was an attempt to give it to the hearing officer, and the
Yes.
hearing officer would not take it,
Yes.
which is the location we would take new information.
Well, we would maybe take that to get back to the hearing officer on, but we can't make a decision.
I understand.
Right, so.
I was just trying to sum up like what happened, and I do go on a tangent. I apologize.
So just, I think for clarity's sake for us, if there's anything, typically what the parent can help us with is anything that was a little vague in the record, or anything that because you've seen the whole record too. So anything you wanted to highlight for us that would be a matter of emphasis, that kind of thing. So if there's anything like that you wanted to just make sure we were aware of, again, we can't take any information that's really outside the record.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I just get
No, it's okay.
confused and overwhelmed. So I'm like,
It's okay, when you're telling a narrative, I get it, like, you're not a lawyer, you're not stuck to this, you're just telling a story.
yeah, I just have a hard time not going over the whole thing. So, I mean, I guess it's easier if you want to ask questions, like you said. I guess that's easier for me.
Okay, I mean, that's fair, if there's anything you wanna add that you want us to focus on, or please let us know. But if you'd like us, if you're just ready to answer questions, we can do
Yeah,
that.
that's fine.
I have
Sure.
just some things that I wanted to bring up. So at the first meeting, where Ms. Brown had gone to in front of the school board and the moderator at that time, and she did not have the police reports, and she said, "I'm trying to get them." There was no offer to delay that meeting. There was no offer to say, we were here 2 months ago and there was a mix up on the schedule, and she was told at that time, "Here's your options." There was no option to delay that meeting. She didn't know she could delay the meeting. I didn't know we could delay the meeting. Had we known that, we would have delayed it and then presented the police reports at the next meeting. But when you don't know that this is a possibility, so this whole report is now not allowed to be presented because nobody offers that. I mean, and I look around, there was a school board sitting there, there was a moderator sitting there, there was an attorney there, there was a superintendent, there was, I think, the assistant or principal. Not one person said to her, "We could delay this meeting if you like until you get those police reports." So right off the bat, who's looking out for this student? Who's looking out for this family? If I'd have known, clearly I would have said something. They also use a 51% criteria to determine if this was bullying incident. And I had asked, where's that in statute? And there is nothing in statute. They use a criteria to determine whether this is bullying. Just happens to be 51% that it's not bullying. And yet, if you look at the reports, there are items in that report that show that she marked off, this would qualify as bullying. She had to move her daughter to another school to avoid this. So I think that this 51% is very convenient, that it just happens to be 49%, yes, it is, and 51% it's not. I would say, look at that. They failed to protect the student. That was the bottom line. If they would have protected the student, she'd still be in this school. They failed to keep the student from contacting her daughter and continuing this behavior. And then it went to her younger daughter. At what point do you say this is a problem, this is bullying? Again, this is a systemic problem in Seabrook. This is not the first time that I happen to live in this district. I happen to watch the school board meetings year after year after year. Parents are coming before this school board.
I'd object to this as well. I'm sorry, this is not relevant to this proceeding.
Sure.
Could we?
So that was
objections though.
well, not typically, but so
I have one more point. So that,
go ahead.
then I'll
So
be
the
done.
10 minutes is kind of our time frame, but we usually allow people to wrap up quickly.
Okay, one more point is that the reason why we're objecting to this decision is because what happens is now we have underreported numbers. If it's not reported as a bullying incident, then it appears that this is not a problem in the school district. And I have sat here and I watched for many years. And finally I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to help this parent because your numbers are skewed. I've told this to the Senate Education Committee on the bullying bill. Your numbers are skewed. You're not getting correct numbers if these kind of incidents, something this severe is not reported as bullying. They hire lawyers to fight parents. I mean, why wouldn't you just report it? Anyway, that was those points I wanted to bring forward.
Anybody have questions?
I do. Ms. Brown, and when I was reading through the packet we get, and I think it was Ducharme resolutions with the hearing. You made a comment, and I'm just kind of curious. You said, you know, at the school board meeting, you said, I have myself trained to school board meetings. Do you remember that? What you meant by that? Like, it was at the opening of it. That was, were you restricted in what you were to present at that hearing?
Trained to those?
At the very beginning of it. Okay.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, it was at the beginning of the hearing. You almost like you started to say something, then trained. I have myself trained for those.
Oh, for the school board meetings?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get cut off very quickly with what you can say there.
This was a hearing.
Oh, for the hearing. I thought you said the school board
No.
meetings.
That was what you had made a comment. You said, I'm used to the school board meetings. I have myself trained for those. And
Oh, yeah.
If you felt like you were restricted to present at the hearing, I'm just curious.
Yeah, because I think the hearing before that, almost because you feel very targeted and bullied yourself because you can't feel like you can't stand up for your child without retaliation on your child.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Over to Seabrook. So if you guys, I think you're typically the way we do it is the presenting party is at the table, but you're welcome to stay there since we had both parties at the table at this point. So that's okay. But we do want to let both sides have the ability to have their 10 minutes. So can you identify yourself for the record?
Sure. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Luke Webster. I'm an attorney for the Seabrook School District. I'm here on their behalf. And I just want to, as an introduction, just say, you know, as you've noted, Mr. Chair, the appellate body reviews local school board decisions based on reasonableness. So really, we're limited here to considering whether or not the evidence that was presented to the school board and those factual findings and legal conclusions that were made at the school board were reasonable and were reasonably supported by the evidence that was presented at the local school board hearing.
So can I
please
usually interrupt, but I just wanted, because this was in your filing as well, and I just wanted to make sure I understand. So, you know, in the past we have districts will almost always support the superintendent or the principal in these cases, but when the school board is reviewing these, we do sometimes see the school board in reviewing not simply whether it was a broad, reasonable interpretation, but actually making sure they didn't make a mistake in fact of law. And I just want some clarity on that from your point of view.
Sure.
Is it the district's position that the school board review process only is ever concerned with whether it's reasonable, or is open to determining whether the initial investigation made an error?
You're saying,
Actual error.
sure, just so I understand, you're saying the local school board or the state board?
The local school board.
Yeah, no, the local school board is looking at the bigger picture, procedural violations under RSA 193.4, whether or not school board policy JICK was followed. Like, those are all parts of the process. I would say here, in this case, it's undisputed that the school administration followed its policy, conducted thorough investigations into each allegation, and then considered the perspective of the students, who these students were, where they were. I always say that, oftentimes schools meet children where they are. They understand their vulnerabilities. They try to understand who they are when they enter the building. That was no different in this case. The school administrators considered all of that when looking into these cases. And I really do think here, in terms of what the purpose of the Pupil Violence and Safety Act is, or under RSA 193F, and the school district policy, which aligns with that statute, that really requires the school district have a bullying policy, which it does, that they conduct investigations into bullying complaints, and they issue remedial measures if any violations of policy JICK are founded. And I just want to stop and say, if you have any questions, please interject. I'm happy to answer questions as we go along here. Of course, we can sympathize with a parent wanting to protect their children. And that is something that we all feel strongly about. We don't deny that at all. But simply because Ms. Brown doesn't like the outcome or doesn't like the disciplinary consequence, it doesn't mean the decision by the school board should be reversed. The school understands the complexities of middle school relationships and interactions in the school building. They try to look at these instances as learning experiences in a learning environment, of course. So that's the perspective that the school district comes to these cases with. I think I heard the word prevention, or there was not a preventative scope to this case. I would disagree with that interpretation of what happened here. I really do think there was a preventative aspect to this, that the school district here met the intent of the statute by taking preventative steps. And that really is by following their statute, by conducting thorough investigations, by using their code of conduct, by issuing disciplinary measures where there was a violation of the code of conduct, developing safety plans and remedial measures, even though there wasn't a finding of bullying in this case. So they took those steps that were required, and they actually prevented acts of bullying in this case. Now, I understand there were 4 allegations, but just the number of allegations doesn't create a pattern or doesn't create an instance of bullying. That's not how yes, go ahead.
Just for clarity,
Sure.
so if you could share with us, and thank you for this so far, what exactly would the learning opportunity and experience be for Miss Brown's daughters in this case?
Sure. Yeah, that there are consequences for other students for your actions. Now, inappropriate conduct, middle school students can say things that are unkind. If you look at the text message change, there was a mutual interaction and a mutual tone that was unkind. And I think that's sort of the nature. I mean, students pushing boundaries, being impulsive, that's the nature of the middle school environment sometimes. But in this instance, the learning was, hey, conduct may not be bullying, but it's inappropriate and there's consequences for that conduct. And that's what happened here. So disciplinary measures were used in this case. So although it didn't rise to the level of bullying, didn't meet the definition of bullying because there wasn't more. When I say more, if you look at the definition of bullying, significant incident or a pattern of incidents that have something else, right? So physical harm, emotional distress, a hostile learning environment, plus a imbalance of power, right? So that didn't happen here. And I think it didn't rise to the level of bullying because of the remedial measures that were put in place by the school district. So here, there was, no contact. You can't have contact with these students. And the retaliatory conduct or the violation of the directive, don't have contact with Ms. Brown's daughters, that's what led to the disciplinary measures in this case. So because that was put in place, it was resolved and handled. So if you look at the timeline, one other highlight I want to make is that if you look at the timeline in this case, these events happened between January and March of 2025 during the 24-25 school year. It started with a mutual text exchange that was investigated. Administrators are uniquely positioned. They know the students. They know the interactions the students have. They conducted the investigation. They made factual findings. They determined that wasn't bullying. Over a month later, there was an incident involving Miss Brown's younger daughter. It was an allegation of a shove in the hallway. After the investigation into that incident, it was determined that it didn't happen as alleged because they looked at the video, they interviewed the students, right? They did a thorough investigation, which is what was required, and found that didn't happen as alleged. So these two instances happened, and then the retaliatory behavior happened because the remedial measures were in place. They were able to intervene and prevent an escalation. Now, these students no longer attend school together. So we're at a point now in the 25-26 school year where there haven't been any instances of direct or indirect, because as we know now, technology allows us to access each other at any moment. There have not been any instances of alleged misconduct. And there can't be now that the school can resolve because two of the students, Miss Brown's oldest daughter and the alleged perpetrator in this case, no longer attend school in the school district. So we're at a point where, to me, for this board to consider, like, what is the actual impact of changing the label of this conduct from inappropriate behavior to bullying? It really doesn't have a practical or consequential effect. And I think there's pleadings that I provided that discuss the mootness issue, but this is basically what I'm highlighting here is that really there is a mootness problem here. There's no interaction. There won't be any interaction between these students. So what is the actual impact on the students or the school community? Ms. Banfield's point that we're gonna get the numbers right. Okay, but at the same time, like, now calling this student a bully, what is the impact of that, or what is the consequence of that? I don't understand that, I guess, would be a good way to frame it. At the end of the day, we're not really here to second guess school administrators, the superintendent, the school board, who all, we followed the process. Ms. Brown received due process. She had a hearing. She was able to present evidence. And I just want to highlight that at the conclusion of the hearing, Ms. Brown was given an opportunity to present what remedies she wanted. So she was given some time to present more information to the school board. And she did that. She had the opportunity to do that, and she did that. So this idea that she couldn't have presented, the police reports or anything like that, I don't think that's valid necessarily. But because she didn't have an opportunity to share more information, what the actual remedy she was seeking. So again, factual findings here were not in error. Legal conclusions were not in error. What we're asking is that you follow the recommendation of the hearing officer Foley, and find that the school board's decision, which affirmed the superintendent's and the school administrator's decision that this was not bullying, did not rise to the level of bullying, that you affirm that decision. School board acted reasonably on all counts, considering the evidence that was presented to it at the hearing. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I have a couple of questions to start off with. So can you just clarify that the alleged perpetrator was suspended how many times in these particular ones?
So it is in the record. I'm not real. So
it's in the record. I just wondered if you had it off the top of your head. It was 3 of the 4 times or 2 of them.
So there were 2 instances of retaliation. There were disciplinary consequences for the retaliatory behavior, which was considered a violation of the code of conduct, not bullying. So I think there's a distinction there that we need to highlight.
In the record, and I just wondered if you can correct me if I'm wrong, the word I recall was in the parents trying to understand why the other student had been, what she had been suspended for. The word harassment was used in the record for her behavior towards Miss Brown's daughters. And I wonder, what's not explained in the record is how the school district views the difference technically between harassment and bullying. Is that a term of art? Is there a hard line between the two? How do you know if something is harassment, not bullying, and harassment? Like, where does that line draw?
Well, I do think that there's, in terms of definitionally, I mean, there is another policy, policy ACAA, that describes what harassment is. Typically, harassment relates to, it would typically relate to something related to someone's race, like that type of harassment, discriminatory harassment, typically. In this instance, my understanding of the record, is that it was a violation of the code of conduct because the student was directed not to have contact with Miss Brown's daughters, and she did. So that's how I understand what the disciplinary consequence. I will say, in terms of getting into the disciplinary consequence for the other student, and the details of that, I would be concerned about getting into too much detail because of FERPA obligations.
Sure. I think it's for our purposes, trying to understand how the school, the way the district is thinking about this, right? So if the school district is saying, we've determined that the student A harassed student B, seriously enough for a suspension, that's a fairly significant penalty, twice. And you have harassment policies here, and I can quickly look them up. I'm not sure that it's clear to the board how the school district is thinking that harassment cannot also be bullying. Right? So it can be harassment, because if you look at your bullying policy, which we have, and you've recited, it can be a single significant incident, or it can be a series. It's a pattern. It can be verbal, it can be electronic, but it has to meet some of these criteria. If physically harm people, cause emotional distress to a people. It seems pretty clear in the record that both Miss Brown's daughters had pretty significant emotional distress caused by these. Interferes with educational opportunities or creates a hostile educational environment. So I want to walk through the text exchange really quickly, because it didn't start with the text exchange. It started with one girl coming up to one of Miss Brown's daughters in the cafeteria, I believe. They didn't know each other, and walked over and starts to insult her based on her appearance, insult her jewelry, insult the way she looked, insult her clothes. That's all in the record. That incident sort of unwound as it did, and then out of the blue that evening, the same evening, that evening, this girl who had done that texts Miss Brown's daughter. And I want to just walk through that text exchange, because I think that's pretty important in order to determine error. We've got 13 pages of text, 15 printed pages.
This did not begin as a mutual text exchange.
It did not. And I'm bringing this up because I want to sort of understand the district's thinking about the mutuality of it, right? So, you have this verbal attack on her for her appearance, belittling and mocking her in front of her peers, which I can only imagine was to cause her emotional distress, to establish social dominance, that kind of thing. They didn't know each other. They weren't friends. It wasn't joking around. And then she gets Miss Brown's daughter's number from someone, we still don't know who. And the text exchange starts that evening. or that late afternoon. Her daughter's first response is, "Who is this?" The girl says her name from the building. She asks, the girl says her name, her first name. Ms. Brown asks, "From the building?" She says, "No, from school." And then she starts to accuse her of things, and it gets bad from there. The alleged perpetrator starts to insult her, call her names. It escalates pretty quickly, and throughout the entire first 9 pages, the only thing Ms. Brown's daughter does is try to calm her down, try to establish clarity. She doesn't escalate at all. She seems almost sympathetic to this other student. And then after being called a name herself, I think twice, be wrong, maybe it's once. Yeah, twice. On page 9 of 13 pages of text, does she respond and say, "No, you are"? I'm given the 9 out of 13 pages of text where she's being attacked verbally, to respond once with the same word the other girl used and say basically, "No, you are." I'm having a hard time understanding how that's mutuality. Like if you put this in any other context, if it's on a playground or if it's physical, and you're getting punched in your face for 9 minutes, and you happen to land one punch back, I don't see how that's mutuality. And I just wonder if the district can sort of explain how they reached that conclusion.
I will say this, the record is the record. I mean, you can go through the text messages and frame it how you'd like. The way I'd read it is there is a level of mutuality there. It's an exchange. The tone is the same throughout. And I think the escalation.
What do you mean by that? The tone is the same?
So I'm looking through it. Where I'm seeing things escalated during this conversation is when Miss Brown's daughter called this other student, and I'm going to quote, "a spoiled little bitch."
And that's after she was called a bitch twice.
So it's been well, I saw once, but that's the exchange that I'm talking about. That's the mutuality of it. I can see your framing of it. I'm not saying, but that's a framing of what the school district reviewed as a mutual exchange in tone between students, text messages between students.
Okay.
So again, going through it, message by message, there's levels of mutuality here in terms of the tone and the flavor of exchange. So
So again, like the other girl calls her the B word multiple times throughout the entire, if you go all the way to the end of it, multiple times. Says she dresses like a homeless man. Like again, mocking her appearance just like from the start in person. And like I don't want to debate this, but it just doesn't seem like her daughter responds with anywhere near the same level of vitriol, aggression that is being directed at her. It reads to me like she responded with incredible restraint. And again, this level of emotional harassment, especially when the girl says, if she establishes the beginning of the conversation, "I'm from school. I'm going to have to humble you at the end of the conversation." And the record reflects that Ms. Brown's daughter was very, very upset by that. Didn't want to go back to school. That seems pretty easy to me to conclude that's creating a hostile educational environment. And I'm having a hard time seeing how the school district can look at that and say, well, that's not what that does. That doesn't meet that level. The girl's afraid to come back to school. The student has said, basically, next time, I see you, I'm gonna humble you. How is that not rise to that level? I'm just from the district's point of view.
Well, I disagree with the characterization, but at the same time, the district looked into that language. Humble, what does that mean? Again, in the frame of the entire text exchange, if you look at it, that the other student also said, I don't want to fight you. That was clear, that's clear language. And as hearing officer Foley pointed out in his recommendations, that was also in consideration and a factor in his recommendation that they're clearly saying that she's not looking for a physical fight, but
that's the way bullies work, right? I don't want to fight you, you might make me. That's always the implication after those words. That's how this works.
So in terms of you're creating a nexus, my understanding of what you're saying, you're creating a nexus between the student not wanting to come back to school and this text exchange.
That's in the record.
I would disagree that there's a nexus that exists. The student was really avoiding school prior to this, if you look at the attendance records. So there wasn't a connection made before the school board that there was a nexus between this conduct, this exchange, and the student not participating in school. So again, it's coming back to the reasonableness of the decision, whether or not the decision the school board made was reasonable, given the facts that was presented at the hearing. That nexus wasn't presented at the hearing. We disagree with the characterization of the record that you're making, but the district was reasonable in its assessment that there's mutuality here. It was not one student attacking another. They basically were exchanging similar barbs during this conversation.
So I'm going to get to the humble. I'm going to let the other board members say. I want to have some clarity on this, just from my understanding. So the district concluded that humble didn't mean physical threat. But in the hearing, when the superintendent testified and was asked about that, are you sure that humble couldn't mean that? She said on the record in the hearing, well, it could mean anything. So that contradicts the district's own conclusion when in the hearing, the superintendent herself is on the record saying, yeah, it could mean that.
Right.
So I'm still stuck there as how the district concluded absolutely definitively. There's no possibility that it could mean anything physical. And then in the hearing, the superintendent contradicts that finding and says, yeah, it could. We don't really know what was, that it could be both.
And it might be helpful to sort of talk about the issue that Ms. Banfield raised about preponderance of the evidence, right? So we're looking at the preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
So the standard here is that. So given this fact, given this, what was presented during this text exchange, the evidence that was presented to the board, is it more likely than not that this meant a physical, that she was going a physical threat? What the school district did to make the determination is they went to their SRO. They went to the person in the building that has expertise in this, and they can ask that individual to consider this, and that's on the record as well. And whether or not this rose to the level of a criminal threat, and the opinion that they received as part of the investigation, as far as the investigatory process. Didn't rise to that level.
So and this is where I think the district seems to be stealing a base. Criminal threatening is not the bullying standard at all, right? So even if it doesn't have to be criminal threatening to be a threat of physical violence. That's not, if it's a threat to bully you, rising it to that level, it's not, that's a higher standard than what the bullying policy has. And so it's a little difficult to understand how the district could say, well, because it seems to be that the district is saying humble is not in itself a criminal threat, like it doesn't rise to a criminal threat of violence. But that's not the standard. And when you have the superintendent acknowledging that it could mean she wants to embarrass her and humble her and verbally like she did the first time, but it also might mean physical, that it's ambiguous. And that's on the record from the superintendent. That seems to be the standard the district should use rather than criminal threatening, which is not in the bullying statute. So can you address that at all, or is it?
Well, I mean, and I'm not suggesting that criminal threatening is in the bullying statute, right? But the threat of any sort of physical harm, the district didn't see that as a threat of physical harm.
Okay.
Again, the school administrators conducting the investigation who are uniquely positioned when questioning the students, right, to understand the intent of this, right? Because they did conduct an investigation. They interviewed the students. They understood. They tried to get an understanding of what all of this meant. And that is the conclusion that was reached based on the facts that were presented during the investigation.
Anybody else? Any other questions for council?
Well, I've read through the text. I'll just briefly say, I'm not interested in dumbing down when it comes to seeing what I view as something very unusual. But I do want to touch on attendance. Looking at the record, there's, I think, 20 unexcused absences with Ms. Brown's daughter. Was every intervention done for truancy?
So my understanding in terms of truancy, like a truancy letter or things like that. Yeah, those steps. It's not in the record. But my understanding is that the school was trying to work cooperatively and collaboratively with Ms. Brown to address the non-attendance issue. So there are times where initiating a truancy action may not be in the best interest of the student or of the school community. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm sorry. I don't have that on the record, whether or not truancy was initiated in this case. But one, I don't know if it's necessarily relevant. Two, there are other ways, other interventions like having check-in, check-outs, having a trusted adult in the building, those types of actions when you're trying to have a student return to school that may be implemented. So those are, I guess, alternatives to a truancy action being initiated.
I do think attendance is relevant because I think attendance is a consequence of bullying if it's determined, but it can certainly be a factor. But I do believe it's state law that depending on how the school district defines a half-day absence unexcused, typically is 1 day of truancy. Counting 20 days of unexcused. In the standard text, that would mean that's 40 days of truancy. Seems quite substantial to hear. It seems to be glossed over. And that's why, when I look at attendance records, that's usually academics, scoring, things like that. Those are things I look at when I look at a record. There's no mention of the school district even coaching that in here.
And I'm not.
It's kind of like glossed over.
I'm not suggesting that the absences are not relevant. Actually the truancy action, whether or not truancy was initiated, I guess is what I'm saying is whether or not that's relevant. But again, I can't answer whether or not truancy was initiated or there are other interventions that were imposed. But I will say that the 20 days that you're referring to or that have been referred to occurred prior to this incident. So I think that's what I think is relevant in terms of this.
The dates I saw were at the beginning of the year, I think between January and March in the record. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't see that right.
Right.
This is the same time frame.
January 29th was the date of the initial incident.
I view it as relevant.
Other questions for either party?
Just Karen, you mentioned about you talking about humbling. I guess, the one thing I think about that's regardless of criminal threatening, regardless if it's physical, humbling in itself, if I look at Anna, I say, I'm going to humble you. That's a position of authority, regardless of how she interprets it. It can be embarrass her in public or physical. But that in itself, that statement, is a level of superiority in my view. And I know everybody's getting caught up in criminal threatening and violence, but stand alone on its own. That's just the way it sounds to me.
Under the policy and state statute, one of the triggers for bullying would be that it includes actions motivated by balance of power based on a pupil's actual or perceived personal characteristics, behaviors, beliefs, etc. The level of abuse this girl took based on her personal appearance seemed to me to trigger that as well.
I would concur. And I would say that looking at the attendance record, it is smattering, like maybe higher than one would want in the preceding timeframes, and immediately following that incident, significant uptick. So, I mean, significant uptick, look at the attendance record, immediately following the incident, which a reasonable person could draw the conclusion of the nexus that was described.
And I'm with you guys. I don't want to rehash everything, but this text exchange is not mutual. It starts out completely out of the gate, attacking. 3 pages in, Miss Brown's daughter, please don't assume. And then again, attacking, dropping the F-bomb, making fun of the nose piercing, and it gives 2 skulls. What do 2 skulls mean? I mean, this is very aggressive. And what do you do when you get backed into a corner? Yeah, she's been pushed there.
Over a little while. I mean, just the level of aggression there and hostility. Again, to somebody she didn't know. Like, there's not a history. The record does not reflect that they were friends, that there was a broken relationship. There's history. This girl literally walked up there out of the blue in the cafeteria and started to attack her for her appearance, and then got somebody to give her the phone number of the victim, and then began to abuse her again. And then this is again in the record, and then was intimidating her little sister on a bus. In a way that she got suspended for, it was bad enough to get suspended for. I fail to see how this doesn't meet the school district's own definition of bullying. Just as a matter of fact. I don't know how anybody else sees it.
One last point,
Sure.
if I may,
Yes.
on the bus incident. I brought that up, Mr. Chair. So in terms of, we're talking about the retaliatory behavior, which was addressed through disciplinary consequences, right? Those instances, again, were looked at as not significant enough to rise to the level of bullying. Now, the interaction between the students on the bus that you're referring to on March 17th, again, it has to be student on student. Like, that's the way the statute's defined, right? So using this interaction between the little sister and the alleged perpetrator to then say that that was a basis for bullying another third party, I would not say the statute defines bullying in that way. It has to be student on student. So this interaction between, like on March 17th, like moving from position to position on the bus, and that's my understanding of what occurred. That doesn't arise to a significant incident or a pattern of incidents involving that particular student.
It involved the little sister.
Right.
So this is bullying the little sister.
There we go.
That's what that clearly is. So the little sister comes to sit at the back of the bus. The alleged perpetrator says, you can't sit here. And again, establish social dominance, intimidate her. So she goes to sit up at the front of the bus. And then that girl follows her to the front, sits there. She goes back, she's following her around, hovering over her. And again, it was an act she got suspended for. So if that's not creating a hostile educational environment, after the little sister knows what happened to the big sister, again, I just don't see how the district can say, well, there's nothing to see here, because it was involving the little sister. It's as if the school district has never experienced a case of bullying before, has no history or experience with the way kids behave and treat each other, as if they're just saying, well, gosh, I mean, we can only look at this one possible way in the best possible light, without understanding the social context of this and what this girl was on the record doing.
What is the age difference between the alleged perpetrator and younger daughter?
I don't know, roughly
So
grade levels.
two grade levels apart.
Again, after the daughter had the little sister had alleged she was shoved, the record doesn't conclude that she was. But she clearly knows who the student is, has some level of fear of the student. And then the student is telling her she can't sit in a certain place on the bus, and then is following her around the bus. I mean, that's intimidating behavior to the little sister. And it also sends a message to the older sister that if you mess with me, I'm messing with your family. I mean, that's just how bullies work. So again, it's hard to see how the district can look at its own policy on bullying. Single significant incident or pattern can be verbal, communication, electronic, physically harms. So we can't include physically harm. That's out. Causes emotional distress. We clearly have emotional distress. Interferes with educational opportunities, creates a hostile education environment. Substantially disrupts the orderly operation of the school. Maybe not. But includes actions motivated by imbalance of power based on actual perceived personal characteristics, which can include your clothes and your nose ring, which is what she was harassing her about. So it seems to trigger at least 2 or 3 of the district's own policies regarding bullying. And it's hard for me to understand how the district can say, well, this is harassment, but it falls just below this level of bullying. And so we can't classify it as bullying. And that's what I think I'm struggling with. It certainly can be harassing youth behavior at the level of bullying, but when you add all this up, certainly seems to fit the district's definition. So maybe that's just a factual finding the district disagrees with. But
I'm struggling with this because it has all to do with a nose ring. All of it starts with a girl or a nose ring.
Yeah.
I think that might be that's what's used as an inciting event, but I think it is a clear imbalance of power bullying situation.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions?
I move that the state board rejects the hearing officer's report and
Maybe accepts the report.
recommendation.
Accepts the report, but rejects
Yes,
the recommendation.
accepts the report and rejects the recommendation.
And
What action will we like?
May I?
yeah, you may.
And find by a preponderance of the evidence that the actions of student B did qualify as bullying as defined by RSA 193F:3.
And we want to just throw in for good measure again the school district's bullying policy JICK, which is a carbon copy of the statute.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for protecting my daughters. It means a lot. I appreciate all of you.
Thank you for standing up for your daughter.
Thank you for coming multiple times.
Yes,
I really appreciate all of you. You're the only ones that helped. It means a lot.
All right. Well, we don't need to seal the minutes. I'll go back to the non-public session. So we can move on to the next. Mayor?
Separately, I know we've talked about potential workshop, but yeah, I think our rules we probably should be talking about bullying.
I fully agree. We have some statutory issues to deal with bullying, but we can take a look at what we can do with our rules within the framework the statute gives us. Okay. All right, Merrimack School Board. All right, welcome. And again, I know you know the procedure. If you would like to do this in non-public session, you're free to request non-public. So we're gonna need a motion to go into non-public session citing RSA 91A(3)(2)(c).
So moved.
Oh, roll call.
Aye.
All right, so we're gonna go into non-public session. Okay, everything turned on. That looks perfectly. I'm still frustrated with the hearing.
We still need to go back to the hearing.
We are back in public.
Okay, so let's, we need a motion to seal the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 Okay,
All right, let's, we're
So
still in
this
public.
goes back
Let's, open the doors.
I wonder if lunch is here.
Should be, it's
How long is
12:47.
manifest educational hardship? Let's see.
open in public again, but I don't know if we're gonna go back into non-public or not.
It's very possible.
So we'll wait and see how the, who this next, it's, Fremont, correct? Yes. I'm sorry.
Right? We need
Fremont?
Fremont, yes.
Okay, come on in.
It should be. Sounds good. 10:30 somewhere. It's almost 7:30. All right, so we have Fremont, parent versus Fremont School Board up. Parent? Okay, it's up to you whether you would like to have this in public session or non-public session. So this is recorded, it's online, so if you'd like it to be a non-public, we can do that. It's up to you.
Thoughts, gentlemen? I don't really care.
I would say generally non-public because otherwise.
Yeah, just in case, you know.
Non-public, I guess.
Okay. All right, we need a motion. 193 A. 236.
So
How do we don't, is that not on the agenda?
It's on the agenda.
It is.
I put it there all the
I
time.
had it.
I'm gonna make it my laptop background.
Yeah. 32C, right?
Second.
Yeah. Okay, let's do roll call.
Alright.
I,
Aye.
All right.
Okay, so
All right.
you're out again. Sure.
Let me just get us back in non-public.
As a technicality, I was always told you're supposed to say why, which would be that first.
So the 2C is that.
I know that, but I believe
right there by the runway. And they have outdoor seating and you can eat there and the food is also great. And you can just watch the planes all day. Those are our two favorite breakfast spots.
Fairfield Cafe when our kids were young. We used to go there, they used to love it.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, we need a motion to seal the minutes.
second.
So. Second.
Let's do roll call.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, why don't we take a couple minute break? Maybe our lunch is here.
Yeah.
We'll come right back.
Sure it is.
Get to you guys.
Yeah, okay.
All right, take 5.
She's gonna be. She's.
Okay, I'm gonna get back into session. Yeah.
Education Advisory.
Yep. Is anybody here from the Home Ed Advisory Council? Well, it's your time. So if you want to come up, you're welcome to. We've obviously all read the report. So I think at this point, you know, if there's anything that you wanted to highlight in the report specifically, that's fine, but I don't think we need it reread.
Okay, I wasn't going to read the report.
Sure.
I have some
Yeah.
statistics,
Great.
national stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Perfect. This is the. One of each.
Yep, I got it. They actually have the report, but this is.
That isn't the report.
Oh, this is it. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Let me just do this. I'll just get it.
Yeah. Please.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to report the board on behalf of the Home Education Advisory Council. My name is Diane Nolan. I've been home educating in Wyndham for over 20 years under RSA 193A. While the educational landscape in New Hampshire has changed, the home education pathway continues to produce high caliber, sought after candidates among college applicants and within the workplace. I brought a sampling, which is being handed out, of recent home education success stories, so you can see firsthand what our student outcomes look like, and they are impressive. Home education continues to grow nationally. Researchers estimate that there are 3.4 million home educated students across the nation, and that would be about 5 to 6% of the school age population. Locally, NHED reports that there were 3,400 registered home education students in New Hampshire last year. New Hampshire's ratio is lower than the national estimates. Continued growth in 193A home education pathway is of benefit to the state of New Hampshire. 193A parents pay educational taxes that typically go unused. One could say that we are the most budget-friendly option for the state, since parents assume all expenses for the education of their children under RSA 193A. The HEAC annual report addresses many areas that our members discussed and acted upon during the school year. What isn't addressed is that HB 1268, the Home Education Freedom Act, is pending the governor's signature with an effective date of July 1st. HEAC will be repealed if that is signed. For 35 years, HEAC has been part of the communications exchange between NHED and the stakeholders. While home education leaders will do their best to monitor trends and answer questions within the home education community, many have concerns about how the bill language will be interpreted and administered effectively should 1268 become law. Clear communication from NHED will be instrumental in the implementation of such a transition. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions. Anyone has any?
Are there any questions?
I guess I'm gonna ask, I didn't know that you can, that your account, your group is gonna get rescinded, it's gonna get repealed. Can you give me your take on why that is? What it's about?
It has been a very contentious council for the past 2 years. We had 33 great years, and the last 2 have been especially contentious.
Thank you for what might be the last HEAC report. We appreciate the information and
Thank you.
thanks for your dedication to homeschooling and to keeping us informed.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much.
So that, I think that characterization is correct in terms of my understanding. I can't speak for the legislature, but my understanding is from some legislators who were involved in that process that there was just a level of discomfort or dissatisfaction with the different factions in the homeschool community, trying to whether the report actually represented the point of view of a faction or of sort of all homeschoolers. We didn't get involved in that fight, but that was what the legislators were contending with. So that, as she said, is over to Governor Abbott for a decision on that.
Looks like it's a complete deregulation.
It's very much a very large scale deregulation of homeschooling.
Is that a good thing?
Well, I actually didn't get involved in that bill. Don't know a lot of the details of it. So we'll see. All right. Next up, input-based accountability system. Welcome.
Hello? Just waiting for the
Wait
slides.
for the screens to come up.
I'm sorry, hold on, I'm just trying to find it. I had it on the. Here. You sent it in an email, right? Did you send it as a, okay, I'll grab it. Hold on. Apologize. Thought I put it on the. I think you all have the presentation in your packets as well.
Yeah. Yep. Slide slow. And the slideshow. The report.
Coming up. I have it on my screen. Let's see. Why isn't it showing? Okay.
Angela, do you want to add Carrie to the meeting and then she can
Yeah,
just
we may
share?
have to do that. I don't know why it's not sharing. I have it right here, so.
Can Carrie, and just do it, if you just add her real quick. Do you have?
Yep, I'm just gonna send her a calendar invite. Yep, I can just do it. Should have it. As soon as I see you, I'll put you in there. Oops. Why is it? I'm getting a message. Oh, okay. Is it coming through as remote meetings now?
Oh, yes. Oh, no, it's gone now. One second.
Yeah, I know, it
There's
takes a
button.
minute. There you go.
No, I don't see an option.
You declined, okay, let me go
Oh, I
back in.
declined.
Go back in. It's okay. There you go. So as soon as you start sharing, I'll actually pin it.
I did share it.
It's funny. Amazon uses Chime. We use Teams. Swear, messes up my microphone. Constantly switching back and forth.
Why is this?
My Teams, my son.
We use Teams, Ocean uses Teams.
No idea why it's not showing on these screens.
Can I just go ahead if you have the slides?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know.
We have the
why
slide.
it's
We
just-
I have the slide up right now.
Everybody online can see it.
Okay.
All right, well, good afternoon. My name is Kieran Wong. I'm the accountability administrator here at the Department of Education in New Hampshire. Normally, I've been here to present you the results of the federal accountability results, whereas today I'm here to talk to you about state accountability. So as you may already know, we have dual systems currently in New Hampshire, the federal and state accountability systems. On the state side, we have what is called input-based accountability system, or IBAS. So this particular survey is done every 2 years, and we just finished them for this year. So I'm here to present you with the results. So if you look at slide 3, it gives you an explanation of what IBAS is. So basically, all public schools in New Hampshire are required to demonstrate that they provide the opportunity for an adequate education as defined by RSA 193. And schools meet this particular requirement through 2 mechanisms in state accountability in New Hampshire. So one is IBAS, or input-based accountability system, and the other one is performance-based accountability system, or PBAS. So IBAS is a biannual electronic survey that all New Hampshire public schools must complete by January 15th of every even number year. And in this particular survey, schools are required to, 1, identify whether they are compliant with each of the school approval minimum standards as referenced in RSA 193E 3B, and provide a narrative that details how they met or did not meet each standard. So if you go to the slide 4, that gives you the list of all the standards that schools were required to answer these 2 questions about. So it covers ELA, math, science, social studies, art, oral languages, health and wellness education, physical education, computer science, digital literacy, school year requirements, technology and engineering, and personal finance literacy, and minimum credits required for graduation. And as you can see from the chart, some of these are only required for certain schools. So for example, world languages standard is only required at the high school level. And you can also see that computer science, technology, and engineering and education are only required for middle and high school programs, high schools. And I'm sure you also have the full report of the IBAS results that were included in your packet, I believe. And in that report, you will notice 4 different compliance types. So one is fully compliant, which means that schools self-reported that they met all the standards that are required for the provision of an adequate education. Partially compliant means that schools self-reported that they met some, but not all of the standards. Did not submit means that the schools did not submit the IBAS survey. And NEASC accredited means that schools met the IBAS requirement through an accreditation by the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. So under the current state statute, schools are required to meet this particular requirement by submitting the IBAS survey, or they can show that they are NEASC accredited in lieu of completing the survey. Or they still have to actually complete the survey, but in the survey they specify that they're meeting this requirement through the NEASC accreditation. So if you go to page 7, it gives you the chart showing a table showing the overall compliance rates. So you can see that so you can see the compliance status for elementary, middle, high schools, and all schools. And if you go to slide 8, it gives you a summary of what that table shows. So you can see that 96.4% of all New Hampshire schools self-reported that they're fully compliant. And you can also see that the compliance rate was highest among high schools, which was at 97.6%, and lowest among middle schools at 91.7%. And I've also listed some standards with the highest non-compliance rates. So the standards where schools reported that they weren't meeting these requirements. So at the elementary schools, those standards were health and wellness, digital literacy, and social studies. For middle schools, it was computer science, health and wellness, and technology and engineering. And for high schools, it was world languages and computer science standards that had the highest non-compliance rates. So again, the full report has been provided to you and is also publicly available, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So for these non-compliance, is there a typical reason why a school might not hit some of the compliance requirements?
So the Office of Accountability at this time has only been tasked with collecting the data and not necessarily with analyzing the causes of it. So it's not a question that I can answer at this time.
And what's the follow-up when a school says, "Oh, we're not compliant"?
So according to state statute, I believe it is stated that certain schools that are not meeting the requirements are going to be continued to ask to submit a narrative and submit the IBAS until they have met the survey. But aside from those, I don't believe that there are other follow-up steps that are required at this time. But again, because Office of Accountability is really only charged with collecting the data at this time, the follow-up steps is something that perhaps may need to be discussed by other parties.
Any other questions?
I know social studies is one of the three highest non-compliance in the elementary grade. So is that where age appropriate government civics would be? Curriculum?
Let me see.
Typically it would be. I'm just kind
For
of,
social studies, I would believe so. But at the same time, I hate saying this again, but because of Office of Accountability is only tasked with the data itself, data collection itself, I probably shouldn't comment on the standard itself.
and how does the department know if a school received full NEAS accreditation? Because sometimes the accreditation can be approved, sometimes with exceptions. How does the department know for sure? Do they get the long form or is it just a short form?
In the IBAS survey that all schools are required to complete, it gives them they're required to upload the copy of their latest letter of accreditation from NEAS.
Is that just the letter or is that the long form document? Do you know?
It is most likely the letter,
Okay.
but it is also up to the schools to determine what they want to submit as evidence.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, Hal back there. Hal, you're up.
Good afternoon, Tal Bear, Charter School Office, New Hampshire Department of Ed. We have MC squared come on up. We have Jocelyn Goldblack, Vice Chair of Board of Trustees, and Elizabeth Cardine, co-leader for the school, here for charter amendments. And you guys got it.
Hey, welcome.
Good afternoon, I'm Jocelyn. We're just here to amend the charter based on the expansion to the 8th grade. So we needed to make those adjustments to the charter. And since we had it open, we figured we would go ahead and take care of the naming convention that's required of us. And we made an adjustment to our board policy that allows us to vote to override the requirement, the maximum requirements for the makeup of board members that have parent status in order to avoid having to turn away someone who is really well qualified to make our board more robust and give us the flexibility to say yes to someone who would enhance the qualities of the board overall.
Can you just walk through how this change works? For the board?
I think it was 50% or 2, whichever is greater. And so if we were faced with a ratio that would go above that by accepting a certain candidate who had exceptional skills like academic skills or legal or educational skills, that we would be able to unanimously vote to go beyond that 2.
So I was reading this and I think I get what you're trying to do here, but I wonder, so there's no cap on it though. So you could unanimously vote in theory, right? The board could just keep unanimously voting to put parents on until you've reached 80% of the board members or whatever.
In theory, that's true. That could happen.
So that's my only reservation about that change. I see what you're trying to do, and we want to have you be flexible. But we do find that it's valuable not to have too many parents on the board.
And we agree. So
capture reasons, right? So I wonder if there's an opportunity to, because you basically are asking for, we're going to lift the cap on parent members, and we can just always lift the cap. So there's effectively no cap.
Provided that there's a
unanimous vote.
A unanimous vote that it qualifies in some other way as a professional, that it enhances the overall effectiveness of the board based on their experience or expertise.
Can I run another theory? So parents become 70%. Can't they would have to come back here. At that point, they could change things around, couldn't they? A bit in the school, or they'd have to come back here
Well, anything that's in the charter, they'd have to change. But, so currently, no greater than 25% of membership of the board of trustees or one member may simultaneously serve as the board than more than 50%, no fewer than 25% to parents and guardians, unless unanimously approved by the board is what you want to add. So, so that sentence, and I appreciate the unanimity of the board because that is a good safeguard. But I was just trying to think this through when I was reading this and how, again, boards change over time, and you know, you get 3 or 4 board parent members on there, and you get friends of friends, and I'm just a little uncomfortable with it being the only cap being unanimous vote. It probably will work just fine, but just as this is the charter, and we typically like to have a safeguard on the number of parent members, I just wonder if there's a way to address that.
Is just additional language that would specify another.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if you could put no more than 50%,
but not to exceed.
but not to exceed 75%, right? It's just to throw a number out.
Sure.
Unless,
I think this year was the first time we had this strange situation where someone joined our board and then their child
Will
joined.
become a parent.
And we're like, oh no, do we have to
You don't wanna
kick
kick them
someone
off.
up? Right.
Yeah.
And so I think I remember this debate happening and the board was playing with this idea of, obviously in our charter, there are specific needs, roles
Yeah.
to be met, not positions,
Yeah.
but like legal, fundraising, business, all those things.
Right.
And I remember the debate including if it's to meet an identified need.
So we could add that particular language.
Yeah, because that language is not in here, so it just allows unanimous vote. It doesn't say,
But if it went back to
right, to fill a specific.
supplying a need that is identified in our charter,
Right.
that might help thread that needle.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think something like that. What do you guys think? Does that? Because I totally get what you're saying, and we
Yeah.
want to help you out there because you don't want to be in that position where you have to kick somebody off.
But we don't want it to be a club. And
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's like
It-
there's a benefit from having external viewpoints.
Oh,
That'd be
yeah.
like, Yeah.
yeah,
That's true.
I think our hesitation is always that we don't want that to be in lieu of a business person
Sure.
or someone, a financial person.
But even so, like even if they fill those other needs, if your board is made up of, if it just sort of over time skews towards almost all parents, they just have different views than outsiders do, and we've seen some schools where when it becomes heavily weighted towards parents, they get into all these internecine fights over stuff that a non-parent wouldn't. And so I just want to safeguard you against that going forward. So if we don't accept this change right now, though,
yeah.
that puts you in a pickle, right? With current board members being parents.
No, if
Okay.
we were.
You resolve it.
It didn't end up being an issue, but it brought up the question of what would happen if
Okay.
it did become an issue. We're
Yeah,
still
great.
within our ratio.
Great on
I'm
that.
just,
Yeah. So no, I just mean like everything else is fine.
okay,
I just wonder if you could take a little more time to work on that particular part.
that language.
Yeah, and maybe come back to us with something that's maybe a little tighter. It gives you some flexibility, but sort of still provides some sort of
Yeah.
cap on parents. I mean, I'd love to, Hal, do you have any thoughts on this? Just from your expert point of view, or maybe this doesn't concern you at all?
No, it does, and I think there's arguments on both sides. I think the challenge that charter schools are facing are less of parent-heavy boards and more of not having enough
Getting
qualified board members.
small
Yeah,
boards.
And that's really the crux of what they're trying to address, but do you create a second problem trying to solve the first problem is the question.
Yeah.
What if a parent has strong business acumen?
Well, but that's,
To keep Jim in this meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So the problem I think is,
Jim's not here, so.
I know, somebody's gonna say it.
well, that's what they're saying they want to do is they want to make sure they fill all those other niches.
Right.
If it happens to be with a parent, that's fine. My concern is you just if you get too heavily, at some point you can accidentally tip towards too heavily weighted towards parents on the board, and they form a clique, and then it becomes the parents versus the non-parents, and they have fights within the parents. I mean, this is all stuff we know from experience.
Yep.
So, so I'm just trying to make sure you don't accidentally wind up in a place that you didn't intend to. That's
Are we
all.
able to approve everything
Yes.
except, and then we'll come back to you when we.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems with the rest of it.
No,
Did you?
I just
Oh,
concerned
perfect.
with adding the grade, I just make sure.
So we
that-
can just go workshop that section.
Yeah, I mean, I
Perfect.
think that's, maybe you guys just think about it and come up with something that works. Like, I hate putting percentages on things, but I think you gotta be careful about that
Absolutely.
stuff. So, anybody else have any thoughts about?
I would like us to not expect them to come back and sit through a meeting again to get this. So, what can we
I'd
do
have to
today?
serve
What
them
can we
lunch
do-
if they have to sit through this again.
What can
Well,
we
you know,
do
look, there's
today?
nothing that says that you have to physically be here to present a change, right?
Okay.
So if you wanna come take another crack at this, get some language, workshop it with Hal.
Yep.
Hal can share it with us, you know, and we can take a look at it first and see, you know, and then once you get some language that everybody feels like works, you can put it on here and, then we'll, at that point, we'll discuss it. And, if you wanna zoom in, you're welcome to zoom in, but you don't necessarily have to be here. It's useful if we wanna ask you questions, but if you guys in Tal have workshopped it pretty clearly, it probably won't be that.
Yeah, you just have to make sure Jim's not here.
But I don't think you don't need to expect to sit through a whole meeting, again, for a change like this, I don't think. So you want to do a motion to approve every change except for the board part?
Yes, I move that the State Board of Education approve the charter amendment for MC Squared Charter Public School with the exception of the board composition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Thank you very much.
I just have premonitions of the 17th Amendment. I just have premonitions of the 17th Amendment. You know, Senate got a direct representation.
Do you have a problem with that? 17th Amendment?
I have a problem with it now.
Absolutely.
17th Amendment.
Which one is it?
Absolutely.
It's the one that allowed for direct election of senators, turn the Senate into the House.
Yeah,
Wait, it just.
doesn't have any problems at all.
What's it?
It allowed for the direct election of senators as opposed to
State
states appointment.
Directional.
Direct election of senators.
Oh.
We used to, the state
Popular
house used to vote
election of
popular election of senators.
It remanded back, it just got rid of the whole bicameral legislature approach that the founders wanted to have.
Destroyed the
States
republic.
had rights. With state,
Really undermined.
Okay,
states,
wait,
with states
let's
had
have that
rights
in
and
open
people
board
had rights.
discussion. Okay. Hey, you know,
Dean Setzler, Office of Non-Public Schools, and so I'm here to present some schools for full renewal as well as then some conditional approvals.
okay. Anybody have any questions on the non-public school approval designation report renewals, full approval?
No.
No,
Motion,
I move that the State Board of Education accept the Commissioner of Education's recommendation and approve the following schools for attendance approval status for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2031. Lupin Montessori School, Spalding Academy
I
and
think you could just say as a
Family
place.
Services, only 4 of them. The Cornerstone School and Victory Baptist School.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, renewals for conditional approval.
It's going to be multiple of us.
I have a question on it.
Somebody else could jump in and.
I know, no, then
You
I
do the
lose
motion.
all, then I
You have a
lose all
question.
my sense of.
How often
purpose.
can this go on? How many years can they keep coming back every year
For
individually?
conditional approval?
Maximum of 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
A maximum of 3 years that they can get a conditional approval.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? I move that the State Board of Education accept the Commissioner of Education's recommendation and conditionally approve the following schools for attendance approval status for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. Cardinal LaCroix Academy and Seton Academy. In addition, I move that the State Board of Education accept the Commissioner of Education's recommendation and conditionally approve the following schools for attendance and program approval status for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. Kimball Union Academy and Mount Zion Christian School.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You see how we did that all in one breath?
Yeah,
That was
pretty good.
That's
I was
really
impressed. All right.
It was swimming at 6,500 feet that did that for me. When I was in Lake Tahoe,
Oh, God.
I swim in an outdoor pool. A saltwater pool, it was 25 meters, and I'd have to stop every 2 lengths to breathe.
Pretty good. I think I could do it.
Yeah.
Hi there. So we got a slate here of PSB members. Any questions from anybody?
Is
I
there
read
a
through 'em
limit?
all.
Is there a limit on
I'm good.
how many we can approve, or are there only so many spots, or is it?
There's
one?
only so many spots, but there are a couple spots left after these,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
There are a
so
lot of
there,
vacancies.
thank you, Steve Appleby, Director. There are 21 total spots. If all of these 5 and the 1 renewal are approved, we'll be left with 2 teacher openings and 1 public higher ed opening.
That's pretty
2
good.
teachers and 1 higher ed.
Yeah, which
Did
is.
did you have any concerns about any of these applications?
Are you
Okay.
sure?
I move that the State Board of Education approve the applications for the PSB, new applications and 1 renewal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
There's some great qualifications on that.
Yeah, really.
It was really exciting to read.
Yeah, in the past, there's been, sometimes there's some trouble filling open spots, right? So to get down to just 2 teachers, pretty good. I think.
I mean,
This will be the fullest week.
and we've been,
yeah.
I mean, we've been actively reaching out to people, trying to make sure, and we're working with a lot of groups across the state to make sure that we're filling those seats. PSD plays a very important role, so.
I could have asked you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, it's really fascinating. You look at the qualifications of these folks and imagine what they already have on their plate and if they're going to take this on too.
And I think that was some of the problem in the past was finding people who were qualified, who wanted to do that service, but clearly, I mean, in the last couple of years, the department's done a good job with outreach.
It's very difficult for teachers also sometimes to get approval from the principal to get out of the building.
Yeah. With the teacher spots, just for clarity, like it doesn't say in the statute they have to be active current teachers, right? So you could be a retired teacher, you could be a former teacher. You know, they want somebody who's had experience and can lend that experience to them. But you don't actually have to be a current.
It's a really good point.
Teacher, right? So that's just something to think about. I think the same thing for academics. Like
We do have one who will stay on.
yeah, they want that experience to inform their decision making, but you don't have to be currently serving as a teacher. Okay. Learn Everywhere program.
I do think it's amendments.
Else.
Thank you, Dean.
Hi, Julie Shea again.
Dean Setzler.
So this is the initial proposal for ED 1400 Learn Everywhere. I'll let Dean kind of go through the proposed amendments.
So as we looked at this, just to sum up the majority of the changes, we were looking at a few different things. Reorganization of the rules overall, but also looking at requiring at least 6 months of active enrollment prior to an applicant seeking approval, just to see that they were up and running and working through that. Looking to make a change that programs needed to fulfill a minimum of a half credit as opposed to a quarter credit and such before. They're removing a limitation of who can serve on the application evaluation team, allowing for a larger number of teachers or ELO participants, as well as allowing for a reimbursement if the funds were available, a stipend of such for those reviews. Also, we wanted to allow the department to reject applications that were deemed incomplete prior to the board's review to save time getting to the board, working through that, and you say no. So prior rules would not even allow the commissioner to stop that prior to that.
Yeah.
And then
Notice that part.
yeah, extending the review time frame from 60 days to 90 business days to give the department and the board more flexibility based on overall priorities and meeting agendas that are full. So we get to push one off, as was there'll be one in July that was supposed to be for here today. And then also adding a pathway for programs to withdraw or terminate if they decided to pull from the program. That was not in the rules before. Those are just a general kind of summary.
Does the board have any questions with any of the amendments or?
So
I think I get what you're trying to do here. I think most of these are good. I have a little, I think I might want to take some time to think about these changes, you know. We're not under a deadline for this, right? There's a couple of them I might want to work on a little bit, wording wise. So I'm again just trying to, I was reading these the last couple of days. So the way it's worded with the commissioner designate determining the application does not meet the requirements of Learn Everywhere program. I'd love to not get applications that are incomplete. Believe me, I like that direction. But I'm just concerned going forward. This wording might
Department too.
might give the commissioner, a future commissioner, a little too much discretion. The way it's, you know, I think we can tighten that language up a little bit to basically be sort of like a checkbox of requirements. And if it doesn't meet this checkbox of requirements, it doesn't move forward to the board.
And that's what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you don't think that
So-
adequately kind of describes
Yeah,
that.
I just, because I do think this is primarily a state board program. And I'd be reluctant to change the wording in such a way that creates too much separation between the board and the
can,
department there.
can you share why B under 1403.1 only instructional programs demonstrating active enrollment for those 6 months prior to CP approval shall be considered for review? Why was that added?
At least in the year that I've been here, I've had at least 2 programs that we're trying to create. One standing in the lobby using AI. Well, let me create a program that you just tell me what I need. And they've not come back to us, but that, and then another program that Tim had previously worked for 2 years and there was nothing up and running. And former Commissioner Endelblue had communicated to me that that was the whole idea of Learn Everywhere. Like, where are these students learning? Whether that's the karate, the music studio, and let's give them credit for doing those things. So it's a matter of saying, hey, this is up and running. Students are learning in these places and let's give them credit for it. So that's kind of the concept. It came up with that 6-month window.
But I look at that and someone might have an innovative idea that satisfies STEM or some other curricular program, and what they want to do would be very expensive to set up for 6 months.
Not knowing.
I mean, it would be a huge gamble. So I mean, those people who are willing to come forward with ideas and they've checked all the boxes, I wouldn't want to prohibit them from presenting just because they haven't, dropped.
Yeah, there's a trade-off here between making sure it's having some legitimacy to the program, something that we can actually vet, and encouraging innovation, right? So I don't think we want to err too much on either side. I get where you're coming from on that. I mean, you had the guy who had a really cool math program here, UNH lecturer, I think, we didn't have any physical space, so like, I didn't want to approve a program where he couldn't tell us where the kids would physically be located. And that's a situation where, I think for him, having him up and running really helped. But you could certainly conceive of an online kind of program where you devise the whole thing and we can see it and it's really good. So there's not a lot of value in saying, well, you have to have been up and running for 6 months on that program. So so I think we want to think about the wording of some of these a little more.
How long does it usually take to get approved?
For Learn Everywhere? You can answer that.
It can vary 2 to 3 months, depending on how responsive the applicant is, how quickly reviews come back from the evaluation team. Typically a 2 to 3 week period once I establish an evaluation call, if you will. I have one application where the evaluation team all turned in their evaluations, even though it's due on the 19th of this month.
Yeah.
So that then allows me to move it faster. Sometimes applicants turn in the material or an application right after board meeting minutes are materials are required. So then it pushes them back a whole another month. So
then Joey asked that, it says at least 6 months, but then we have to add on the approval time as well. So just to make sure that was taken into consideration.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my preference would be to table these and take a little more time fleshing out a few of the points.
Sure.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yep.
Because I do think they need some updating.
Mm-hmm.
Before we start your clock, I'm going to take a little more time with them.
Motion to table. A second.
All in favor? All right, thanks. Okay, maintenance record for closed schools.
So this is for charter schools. Yeah. Yes,
Please change it.
So these rules were, these are new rules, based on a bill that was passed during the last legislative session. And so they were written, to fulfill that rule requirement and, have rules regarding closed schools for, transcripts for closed charter schools.
And so charter schools are really, we're getting close to having them in the state for 30 years. And so as we're getting, further and further into having charter schools in the state, we're increasing the number of charter schools historically that have closed, and very different from, district schools that may close and shift records locally, but someone's still maintaining those. When a charter school closes, those records come to the Department of Education. We maintain those. So as those records are growing, we need an ability to better process students' requests when they're reaching out to us to get their records of being in high school for a school that's closed. The state statutes in New Hampshire give us authority to create rules and to create a fee schedule to charge for people accessing records from closed schools. So we just created this draft of rules relative to the work that's going on. We've modeled it after the other programs in the department that currently do this already. So there are other closed school records and transcripts that currently live in Steve's division, usually around like closed career schools or closed higher education institutions. So we've modeled these rules off of currently functioning programs already. We're just adding charter schools to that list.
Can I add one other thing? One of the other important things is just to help provide some consistency and clarity, because a lot of the records that were coming from closed charter schools were so individualized, it was very difficult to figure out what we were looking at. And so we essentially created a standard format that they'll come into us.
Right.
So I found something and now I'm having a really hard time finding it again, but it is here. It was under record for closed charter schools F2, A, B, and C. I wonder whether you wanted to add a D to cover kids who might move out of state. So list kids going to private school, non-public school, school maybe out of district, but it doesn't cover kids who might potentially move completely out of the state.
Yeah.
Unless there's some reason why we don't have to send the records with them.
No, I just
No.
don't think that was something that was considered in terms of them going out of state.
Yeah. Would it be captured though, because they would be going to a public or non-public school, and so it doesn't matter if it's in state or out of state, it's still
Right.
considered?
It says non-public and it says,
Well, for example, it says if attending a non-public school, records are mailed to the address of record for the non-public school, so that could be in or out of state, or if it's a charter school, mailed to the address of the charter school, or home education, it doesn't
it
delineate.
could be a traditional public school, which is not specified.
The student's resident district.
It's already covered though.
Yep, so if they're attending any school other than the school in the resident district, which would be the public school. Oh, so I guess if they were moving.
So it was a public school out of state, that's the loop, or the gap, okay.
But, I mean, again, I may have misread it.
No, that makes sense.
So these are, yeah, it is possible a situation could occur. So this is only happening on the date that the charter school is closing. So the only students that would be in attendance at that school, where the school would still have those records, would be resident students, because you wouldn't be able to have an hour. So it'd be a situation where if the charter school is closing, simultaneously the students moving out of state on the day the school's closing.
Unless
Which
you
could
have,
occur,
you have
yeah.
a child whose grandparent says, fine, move in with me. There's a great school in my district. You can go there. Or, I mean, I just think it's a scenario that you have no control of.
Can we just put a pin in that, because I think we can move forward with these and that will come up.
Yes, we will have another
Yes, we'll
draft.
come back.
I went to in 3 different states, 3 high schools, 2 junior high schools,
Yeah.
and 1 high. So just for a child who did it all the time.
And I'm wondering if we even, rather than get more specific, if we want to just kind of collapse these down to say, you know, a student who is still attending school upon closure of the chartered school, the records shall go to the school that student's attending.
That covers it.
Any graduated students, the records go to the Department of Education. We don't necessarily have to specify what the school
That
is.
might be more
Let's
simple.
do
Yeah.
that.
That's way better.
Yeah, so we'll just simplify it down and cover all areas. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? All right, you wanna, motion?
Motion to readopt and amendment ED.
Well, I think.
They're new rules.
Yeah, it's initial proposal.
Yes.
Accept the initial.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Phil.
Mission to accept the initial proposal for ED 31821 and ED 31822 records for closed charter schools as amended.
Well.
I haven't made the amendment.
Let's not do the amendment yet.
I will leave that a bit. I will amend my.
I will put a
motion
pin.
to Move the amendment.
So we just started on this and they'll come back with their.
Yeah.
Anybody want a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got health ed, physical ed, special ed, and school psychologist.
So we did get the letter back from OLS for the conditional approval response for school psychologists. So those are approved to move forward for adoption. And then we have the other rules that are listed ready for adoption as well.
Okay.
Master help education teacher.
So all of those C through F are ready to adopt, so.
Sure. Board to adopt. What do you call it?
Well, we could say teacher certification rules for
That's precisely
school
how do you-
education.
So, I move State Board of Education adopt the health education teacher, physical education teacher, special education teacher, and school psychologist rules.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Over to you.
Yeah, we have the emergency.
Oh, yeah. Goodness.
They weren't on the printed agenda, but they're on the one online, so.
All right, So one more thing.
Yes.
So, thank you. These emergency rules are as a result of HB 1051, which passed, and unfortunately, the effective date was July 1st, 2026, not 2027. So these emergency rules give us the ability to get the process in place, get the programming completed to our system, and essentially stand up how this is going to work. So,
do you want to, either of you want to address the date, effective date, and the rule versus the?
I can if you want to. Yeah, so the effective rule of the law is July 1st, 2026, and it's going to require contracted service providers to get a criminal history record check at the state level. They already get one at the local level, and so they are being checked. Adding the additional state level criminal history record check at this time may delay their ability to get started in the school year, which means that we wouldn't have those contracted service providers to provide the services that are needed for special education, for
OT,
yeah.
PT, those types of folks.
And so we wanted to make sure that that didn't happen because, you know, all of those kids need those services. And so in the rule, it says they can get checks through us if they want to at the state level, but it's not going to be required until July 1, 2027, which is when several other bills do go into effect. And so then the Bureau of Credentialing will be able to do all of them at that time. And they've got, you know, the time to implement that and operationalize it.
Yeah, the other, we had two other statutes passed this past spring. One would require background checks, criminal history record check clearance for all license renewals, which today we only do it for new applicants, and that's also fairly new. And then the second bill covers educational personnel and a 5-year clearance being issued to educational personnel. Those are going to affect July 1st, 2027. So.
And so I think what you're saying is the statute goes into effect this July 1st.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean our rules have to be in effect this July 1st. Once the statute takes effect, but we have time to write the rules. So we're taking up these rules and they'll go through the rulemaking process.
And it's, yeah, it's important to say, you know, the department needs to build a process around this. So,
Yeah.
so once the law passes, that gives the Department of the Education to go and start making the modifications to our system to allow these additional background checks for us to build the system, to implement the fee schedule and get that work in place. But that's really why the background check shouldn't go into effect until the department has at least had the work, the front side to do the work.
Yeah.
So,
Does the law allow for that like that?
so the law allows the work to start now. And as far as pushing out the requirement, we believe we have the authority to do that. And typically, whenever there's a program that's newly authorized, there's usually foundation work that has to happen before it is. But frankly, we wish the legislature was a little bit more clear like they had been with the other laws, but they were not with this. And then so we're trying to make sure that we do not cause any substantial challenges with schools with kids not being able to receive services. And where those service providers are receiving background checks already locally, we believe that this is the best path forward.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Who will be a second guess?
That's straightforward, dang it.
Yeah.
Well,
Feel free to, please.
But I think that makes sense. You know, we don't want to create a situation where you have qualified personnel who did get a local background check who nonetheless can't go because the state system isn't up and running yet.
And we don't want to create a gap in protection as well, you know, inadvertently.
I motion to adopt emergency rules ED 501.02, ED 504.12, and ED 505.09 regarding procedures for criminal history record check clearances.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just to be clear, the emergency rule nature of this is that it does create a health and safety issue if we have qualified personnel who can't get into the schools. Like that's what we're creating.
It creates an imminent peril.
Yes. There you go.
Yes.
I can use that at jail car next week.
Yeah. Imminent peril to public health.
I think that's the different band.
It's a great idea.
That's a good band.
Peril to public health.
Yeah.
String.
Or safety. I
Cal,
think-
Cal,
I
write
think
that down.
safety
Thank you.
That'll be your opening act, Hal.
Thank you.
Okay, now.
Now we,
Commissioners.
okay. Did you pass? Yeah.
Yes, this is fast.
Good afternoon, for the commissioners report for the month of June 2026. So obviously it's the end of the school year. The department is spending a substantial amount of time helping schools wrap up all of the end of the school year requirements. That includes a substantial amount of data collection work required by the department so we can do various statistical reporting across the summer, including releasing our assessment results. So we've got a lot of people looking for those already. Just a reminder, those come out at the end of the late summer. There we go. A new thing for the state board, I want to point this all out. So last week at Governor and Council, the department proposed a membership for you all for the National Association of State Boards of Education. That is something that I'm hoping can provide you with additional resources, as we know that you all have a challenge where you're a board without staff and support. So this organization helps support state school boards across the country, provide various different resources, including they will be able to provide facilitation work for the retreat that we've mentioned doing in the future, a lot of best practices, research capabilities. So you should all have started receiving your emails. You may have seen those. We gave them all your contact information, but we would encourage you to, use that organization. We are hoping that you find it a very valuable resource. The Department of Education, we have a large number of organizations like this, membership organizations that we support. CCSO, for example, is a commissioner or state chiefs organization that I'm a member of, and they provide invaluable support for the department. We have some assessment ones, we have special education administrator ones, and that really is able to provide us with resources that we don't necessarily have at the Department of Education, but also a connection to other people that do this work across this country. And it really gives us some, ideas. We can know where things are happening that's really good, and we can kind of adopt those ideas, or we can know like, oh, they did that, and we definitely don't want to try that. So just, I encourage you to engage with that group as much as possible going forward, and kind of see how, we can, if you find them a valuable group, and we'll continue to invest in that membership moving forward. I think there's over 30, maybe almost 40 other state boards that are a member of this organization across the country. So just looking forward to that support for you all. Yesterday, very exciting day for the Department of Education. Christina Powers, a math teacher at Pinkerton Academy, was named the 2027 Teacher of the Year. We want to make sure that we celebrate her. Would love an opportunity to have her come talk to the State Board of Education. But very excited to move forward over the next year with her as the Teacher of the Year. Megan Philbrook is just getting done her year as Teacher of the Year, and she was a great ambassador of the Teacher of the Year program, and an amazing pick in the semi-centennial year of the country, because she is a social studies teacher and extremely passionate about history and American history. So that couldn't have been a better pick in this year. Let's see. So about 2 weeks ago, I visited Winnisquam Career Tech Academy. They had finished their recent construction of their facility with 5 CTE programs that they're offering. The state provided them with $11.3 million of construction funds for that facility. In the state's budget every other year, there's a capital budget request that the Department of Education does to provide funding for career and tech and renovation on a schedule that's defined in law. So we always do put those requests in, and the legislature chooses to fund those projects or not. We will be moving forward with 2 additional projects. Our state budget, capital budget meeting for the Department of Education will actually be next week, our very first meeting with the legislature, and we will be putting forward 2 more projects as required in that schedule. That's a project in Milford for $11.5 million and a project in Conval for $13.5 million. And so those decisions will be made over the course of the next year by the legislature in the state's capital budget. We've also put in a department request for a department-wide implementation of SharePoint, for that would be a document management system, a case management system, hearing systems, all these kind of foundational systems that we don't have existing at the Department of Education right now. So hoping we can get some legislative support on that. Well, you're welcome to come to our capital budget hearing if you want to next week. Another important initiative of the Department of Education right now. So Kieran was just here talking about the input-based accountability system for accountability for an adequate education. So just a reminder, the accountability for an adequate education is made up of two parts: the input-based accountability system, which is a survey, which Kieran just referenced, and then the performance-based accountability system, PBAS. The department hasn't implemented PBAS in quite some time because we have not had any resources to do that. In addition, the law itself is not really functional. So the Department of Education seeked legislation 2 years ago to be able to amend that law to kind of allow the Department of Education to build a new system of accountability for schools in New Hampshire. We had kind of requested the flexibility to do it on our own. The legislature didn't love that plan and required us to do a task force to design that accountability system. And so that task force has been meeting over the course of the last year. It's largely made up of superintendents to design that new accountability system. That legislative report is required to be released as a result of that law by June 30th of 2026. So that report is being finalized right now. The final kind of touches are being placed on that report. And we will be presenting that report to you in July. So you will have that information. We'll be then also giving that report to the legislature. To implement that system, it will take additional legislation. They didn't give us the authority to implement the recommendations of that report. So the hope is that we will present that to the legislature, and then somebody will sponsor a bill to do either that level of accountability or just different additional legislative requirements. So expecting some big changes to the accountability system in the next year. So
how does that impact the child in the classroom?
So without getting too much details into the report, because we'll be doing that next month. The accountability system looks at a variety of different indicators. Student performance on the state assessment is largely weighted in that. Other indicators like college and career readiness indicators, graduation rates, completion rates, which is something that we've not considered in the past, and some other indicators, and saying like, how are those children performing, and are those kids receiving all the skills that they need to comply with the requirements of adequate education. And then lastly, so I put in front of you, everybody should have this blue piece of paper. So last week at the Governor and Council meeting, the Department of Education put forward with the support of the State School Safety Task Force, a $2.6 million contract with critical response group, which is a group of individuals that do mapping for schools across the country. So this project, which was funded with public school infrastructure safety funds, will now provide mapping services for all schools, standardized mapping services for all schools across the entire state. We're very excited about this project. It really came to fruition a couple of years ago when I was part of a meeting with all of the state chiefs, police chiefs in the state, who wanted to have a project like this. They really felt like there was a strong need for this, so they would have consistency across schools and across municipalities in the state. So in the event of an emergency, we would have all of that information readily available and standardized in instances when there's an emergency. So we were able to, as a result of that meeting, have some conversations with the Public School Safety Task Force and looked at this, and the School Safety Task Force voted to use a portion of the funds that were allocated this year to move forward with this initiative. We're very proud of this work. We're kicking it off right now. And so it kind of giving you this. So if you're talking to any school people, we need everybody's help getting everybody on board so we can get all the mapping scheduled. There's also some tabletop training exercises that come with the contract, as well as 5 years of maintenance for those mapping services. But it's the first time we've done a statewide project like this on school safety. Typically in the past, we have invested a substantial amount of money in hardening schools across the state, over $50 million in the last 8 years. but we gave individual grants to schools. And in defined categories, but schools were able to do their own thing. This is the first one that's going to have state standard procedures across the entire state, which anybody that works in safety will tell you that anytime you can standardize something, it really improves the processes. So we're very, very excited about this initiative.
Do these maps, are they available to the public once they're created? Okay.
They're not, they are absolutely behind a safety firewall.
First responder access only.
Exactly.
Right.
So there's also mentioned here integration into the school security platforms. What does that mean?
So different schools have different platforms that they use, and so we should have and some don't have a platform at all, as well as some have platforms that are tied to their local either police stations or fire stations, and so that making that available through a standardized integration will be really, so it's not like so right now a school may have a map, but it might be kept on a computer at a school, but no, there should be, consistent availability across the state to this information.
So I was curious, like to integration to the video surveillance systems.
So this is not connected to that at all. This is specifically to actual maps.
And so I'm assuming this is going to be pretty much like in the construction, as we call it, BIM modeling, we set up a 360-degree camera and guys can walk around in their head with it, et cetera, something like that.
I don't know how the guys do. So the guys that do it, they do this. So the company that started it, they're a group of Navy SEALs, and they were doing this in the Middle East. And one of them, he came home from some tours, and his wife is a kindergarten teacher, I believe, and he started talking to her about kind of standardizing, and he was very concerned to find out that they didn't have this type of technology and standardization in education. So they started this company that's doing this, and they've done many schools across the country. They're finishing up, I think, with the entire state of Michigan right now. They also did all of the safety and security for Burning Man. So that's important credential they have.
So the one thing I think of with this is always the format and what it's in. So to make sure that it's exportable. So for instance, if CRG goes out of business or it becomes competitively bid, is this documentation available and exportable, transferable to another application?
It is, yes. And I should mention, this was competitively bid too. We had a fair number of people apply to this. This was just the one that was selected.
So, I mean, it was developed in AutoCAD or Revit or whatever.
Yes, I don't know the exact technology off the top of my head, but if we have time at a future state board meeting, I actually would love the guys to come in and talk to you about their product. It's just, if time allows.
Just want to make sure it's, we're spending money on the grant, that we're not bound and stuck with one company. Correct. That's what I'm getting at.
All right, great.
Thank you. Oh, quick question. Capital budget meeting, what is that?
The 18th, they kick off at 9 a.m. They don't really give you an exact time. You just kind of wait till the other agency. So I think we're like third or fourth in line after the other.
Or is that the executive office building?
I don't know if they're holding it at Granite Place or the State House. I will confirm that for you though.
And that's the building aid, right? That's the CTE program.
That's the CTE program, yes, but not building aid. That's separate than regular.
It's State House, room 100.
Okay. Did you? Minutes. Anybody have any problems with the minutes?
Angela fixed them.
Yeah, I went in and I heard, because I wasn't at the last meeting, that they were a little, so I went in and kind of went through them and went back to the tape, and hopefully I caught the things that you all thought were not correct.
As
Well, we have to take them off the table, I think, if you're going.
Yeah, well, there's one on the table.
Just to April, correct?
I move the April 2026 meeting minutes from the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll do the whole consent agenda?
Please.
Approve all the tuition agreements?
Yeah.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move that we recline in our chairs with our feet up and
And adjourn?
And adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need to find some